We're gonna wait for the fam to come in. We're gonna be talking about the astrology of the week ahead. Grand Rising, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you guys happen to be at. Let's wait for the fam to come in while I pull up the charts. Welcome, welcome. What's up, fam? How's everyone doing? Very, very tumultuous eclipse season we have entered as of last week. We're going to be talking about the astrology of the week today, getting some insight into the energies of the moment and also what's to come. Got to be honest with you, it's a very tumultuous time. It's a very intense time. Eclipse season is when we see major things enter our life and major things exit our life. And happy Monday, my love. Welcome. Well, before we dive in, how's everyone's doing? How's everyone's weekend? How's everyone been feeling? How's the eclipse energy been hitting people? Um, a lot of folks have been feeling a little bit of like an identity crisis. They've been feeling like, they don't know who they are, where they're going, what the next direction is. When, the sun and the moon are getting eclipsed, especially in the sign of Leo, which has a lot to do with identity and our sense of self and how we conceptualize our sense of self, right? Our relationship with self. Um, we tend to feel a little crazy. We tend to feel a little neurotic. We tend to feel also a little insecure. A lot of things come up around Leo eclipses that have us take a deep, hard look at ourselves and ask ourselves, where we ask ourselves, like, who am I becoming? Who have I been? Who have I been? Where am I going as a person, right? Um, how do I see myself and how do I need to heal wounds that I have associated with my own identity, with my own father, with my own childhood? You know, um, for those of you that uh, don't know, we just had a tragic loss of Mrs. Hayden Panettiere, who was a Leo, by the way. So for those of you that don't know, Hayden Panettiere, who was a childhood actress, she passed away yesterday. And, she was a Leo sun, and she was also a childhood star, a child star, right? Celebrities is a sign of, or celebrities are connected to the sign of Leo. Child stars are also Leo, because Leo is a sign connected to children and youth, in our early formative years, right? And seeing the eclipse, happen so close to her sun, and this being a south node eclipse, so if we take a look at where the nodes are at, right? The north node just went into Aquarius, the south node just went into Leo. The true node is already at like 29 degrees, but actually this week, the mean node or the average node will go into Leo and Aquarius. So we're really going to start feeling the nodal energy along the axis of Leo and Aquarius this week as the mean node catches up to the true node this week. Okay. And that's pretty much the big transit that's happening this week. We don't have any major transits this week where we have a planet ingressing into a new sign or where we have planets going retrograde. We don't have any of that this week. So this is a week where we are just kind of really living in the solar eclipse and Leo energy. Okay. And we're going to see, a lot of people, not a lot of people, but we may see, you know, more tragedies, more loss when it comes to celebrities, when it comes to CEOs, when it comes to politicians, when it comes to those in the limelight, because that's what Leo is about. Leo is the manager, it's the CEO, it's the boss. Leo is our celebrities, Leo is the people that are in the limelight, people that are holding really high positions of power or visibility when it comes to our culture or when it comes to society, right? So we may continue to see some tragedies or losses associated with Leo energy or Leo things. But we're also going to be seeing North Node in Aquarius, which is another thing that I want to speak to with this eclipse cycle, and even with the solar eclipse in Leo opposing the North Node in Aquarius, is we have new leadership coming in, right? We have progressive leadership coming in. We're seeing this is the time of the underdog. And I want you guys to keep this in mind with this eclipse cycle that starts that started last week. It's going to be going for the next 18 months as the nodes are going through Aquarius and Leo. This is the time for the weirdo. This is the time for the outcast. This is the time for the underdog. This is the time for those that are typically on the outliers of societies, right? So people that are progressive, people that are open-minded, people that are futuristic, people that have something new to give to humanity, that want to bring back equality, that want to really bring us into a future that is like egalitarian and just and fair, right? That's where the North Node is at in Aquarius, and that is what the people that are being favored right now, you know? So we just want to be very mindful of how these energies are moving through our own life, especially if you are a fixed sign. So if you are someone that has sun, moon, or rising in Aquarius, Leo, Taurus, or Scorpio, you really need to be paying attention to what's happening in your life this from last week to this week going into next week, um as Leo season wraps up, right? Because it's the fixed signs that are getting hit by the eclipse energy. I like to think of when we're getting hit by Saturn or getting hit by the nodes or we're getting hit by a certain transit. I like to think of that particular, those particular celestial bodies or planets or whatever. They're like looking at us, right? They're gazing at us. And when we are getting hit in a harsh way by an opposition or by a square or by a conjunction, conjunctions go either way. They could be good or bad depending on the planets and the placements involved. Um, we're kind of harshly being sometimes attacked. It may feel that way, like we're being attacked by the planet. We may be thrust into a situation that causes chaos or destruction, And eclipses, they tend to bring out people's bad behaviors, shadowy behaviors. So eclipses have a lot to do with relapse. And this is something that, we need to understand, especially with the South Node. So, when we're talking about the South Node, we just had a solar eclipse in Leo on the 12th last week that was next to the South Node. The South Node is about loss, it's about surrender, it's about detachment, it's about letting go. But what else is the South Node about? The South Node is about chemicals, it's about drugs, it's about alcohol. So it's about how we lose our consciousness, lose our spirit, lose our soul, lose our health, lose our body to toxic substances. So the South Node has a lot to do with poison. The South Node has a lot to do with alcohol. It has a lot to do with chemicals, drugs, things like this. And so when we are, in an eclipse cycle that activates the South Node, our South Nodian tendencies can appear in ways that are very self-destructive. So, one of my favorite astrologers, her name is Judith Hill. She actually has multiple astrology books on various topics. So she does vocational astrology, she does health astrology, right? What I love about her as well is she takes Jyotish or Vedic Eastern methodologies and she applies them to Western charts. And this is the same thing that I do. So this is what you guys are seeing in like on my page with a lot of my work that I'm doing and stuff is I am using Vedic Eastern techniques and knowledge and information and applying them to Western charts. If anyone tells you that, Western astrology and Eastern astrology have nothing in common and they don't overlap, if someone tells you this, they don't understand either one, okay? Or they don't understand how to blend the two and mix the two, or they're focused more on the difference and the separation than seeing the commonality and seeing how they work together, Being someone that has studied multiple traditions of astrology, multiple branches of astrology, I think it's very important that we be open and receptive to all forms of astrology. And instead of, pigeonholing ourselves into doing only traditional astrology or only modern astrology or only, psychological astrology or financial astrology, we should really be open and receptive to all of it because that's how we're going to get a nice, full understanding of astrology and how it all works. And then you continue to learn and you figure out what works for you, what doesn't work for you, right? But anyways, going back to what I was saying, when we're talking about the South Node, one of the things that Judith Hill says is that the South Node is the celestial point of self-undoing. And the South Node operates very similarly to the 12th house. It has similar significations of the 12th house. So the 12th house has a lot to do with self-destruction, self-undoing, right? And when I was looking at Hayden's chart, well, she's a Libra rising with Venus on her rising, and then she has Mars, Mercury in the 12th house. And a big signature of those that off themselves or those that do actions or do behaviors that lead to their own passing or lead to their own ending in some type of way. Um, 12th house Mars is a very, very common one, you know. Um, 12th house Sun, Moon, Mars. Very, very self-destructive when we have that, right? So Hayden, not only does she have 12th house Mercury, Mars, and Virgo, but she also had the sun right next to the south node. So she was actually born 4 days after an eclipse. So she was born during this eclipse cycle in Aquarius and Leo. She has the south node in Leo right next to her sun in Leo within like 3 or 4 degrees, right? So this tells us because she's a south node person, right, that she's kind of predisposed to south node behaviors that could be very self-destructive, that could lead to the end of her life. The sun is the planet of vitality. It's our life force. It's who we are. You know, the sun is our heart. It rules over our heart. And the sun literally gives us energy to manifest our material body for a certain amount of time. And so the sun has everything to do with your vitality, with your life force, right? When you're having challenging transits to the sun, you can have a near-death experience. Your heart could be weakened, right? You can also lose your father. I've seen this before. I've predicted this for people that had an ailing father, an elderly father. I would tell them, hey, listen, you know, your son is getting hit by Saturn or by the eclipses, and just look out for your dad and check in with him and see how he's doing health wise. You know, within 6 months, 9 months, they tell me, oh yeah, my dad, he ended up in the hospital. He needed surgery. You know, thank you for that foresight because, you know, we went to the hospital and they found something out about his heart or about, you know, his health in some type of way. It really depends on where your son is at, right? They'll tell us where you're going to have, where your dad's going to have health issues. So Sun in Scorpio, your dad will have reproductive health issues, right? Colon cancer, prostate stuff. Sun in Leo, your dad will have heart issues, right? Sun in Aries, this is like stroke. This is high blood pressure. This is brain, migraine stuff, right? But your dad will have migraine, brain, blood issues, even diabetes possibly because Aries opposes Libra. Libra is a sign of sugar, it rules the kidneys, diabetes. So, you know, but when someone has the sun next to the south node, this also tells us that when they were born, when during conception, when they were in the womb, more than likely their father was on drugs in some type of way, or their father was distant, not available. He was not really present for the mother. He was really not present. And then also, when people have sun south node together, they tend to have a deep psychological or spiritual or emotional complex with the father in some type of way where they feel like the father didn't see them, you know, didn't honor them, um, they feel like the father wasn't really present for them, didn't understand them, right? When people have the sun next to the south node, because the south node is the celestial point of loss. It's the celestial point of things that get weakened, things that get disenfranchised, things that also get taken away from us. So many people, not, I want to say many people, but there are people that have sun south node together, and I've seen this in a chart to where they lose their father. Someone's asking about the tarot of the week. I'm not doing tarot of the week right now. I've been having to be very mindful of my energy, and I've been busy every Sunday. So we're putting the tarot, the week ahead tarot, we're putting that on the back burner for now. I've been incredibly busy with readings. I'm like booked out right now, and you know, I just moved to a new place. So, or I just moved back to my parents' house. So I'm just like readjusting and, you know, having to figure out my energy levels and what I'm capable of doing, you know, what I'm capable of sustaining. One of my patterns is burning out, you know, I've been doing this for like 5 years, but I go hard on my content, you know, I go hard on my work, and then I end up doing too much and I burn myself out. And then I just like won't post for like 6 months, you know, so I'm trying to prevent that. So we're putting the Week Ahead Tarot on the back burner for now because I just don't have the energetic capacity for it with my work and with the readings I've been doing and with just like the demands of life at the moment. So, well, maybe we'll pick that back up in the future at some point, but as of now, we're not doing the week ahead tarot. Okay. So, going back to what I was saying, when people have the sun and the south node together, they can have a father that is missing. Quite literally, they don't know who their dad is, or their dad will pass away when they're really young. You know, it's something that I've noticed multiple times, you know, multiple times. So Miss Armstrong said, "My son is 10 degrees from my south node. Dad left mom and us kids too, back and forth, but never looked back. Started a whole new family." Exactly. Yeah. So when people have the sun and the south node together, Their father will be distant, will be missing, will be unavailable, or even their father will be on drugs. But what does the South Node do? The South Node weakens whatever planet it is next to, not only in our lived experience of that planet and how it manifests outwards, but also our physical body. So if you have the South Node next to Venus, then you will have a missing kidney, possibly. You'll have kidney issues, you'll get kidney infections, and you'll have weak kidneys, or you have kidneys that give out. When you have the sun next to the south node, you'll have a heart issue. You have heart palpitations. You'll have a weak heart. You'll have back issues, a weak spine. Sometimes the sun next to the south node will literally give someone a really challenging heart condition or will give them a weak back, right? If you have Mars next to the south node, this will show up as a blood condition. Sometimes people have Mars south node together, they'll get blood cancer, because the south node is also connected to cancer, right? So, it's something that we always want to think about, we want to consider during an eclipse that's activating the south node. Because when eclipse activates the south node, then the energies of self-undoing and self-destruction and avoidance and escapism and weakening of things get activated, right? Not for everyone, but if it's an eclipse that's hitting your chart the way that it hit Hayden's chart, right? South, and then what's so crazy, and I'll go ahead and I'll probably break this down in a reel because I was trying to do the reel this morning on Hayden's chart and just like doing a breakdown of it to show you guys exactly what led to her passing or how you can see the passing in her chart. But yeah, she had sun south node double activation. So the sun transiting in Leo going over her south node, right next to her south node, and then the south node going into Leo right next to her sun. So not only was it transit sun activating natal south node for her, but it was transit south node activating her natal sun. So she got hit double. She got a double whammy from the south node. She had a double south node activation. Her natal south node was activated by the sun, and then the transit south node was activated by her own sun, right? So it's so crazy to see how you can see the destructive energy associated with the south node, you know? So if my partner's Mars conjuncts my south node, he can cause cancer. Well, that's literally a past life partner. Mars is the planet of men, right? So someone's asking if my partner's Mars conjuncts my south node, can he cause cancer? So Mars is the planet of men. When you have a man, you're in a relationship with a man that has a conjunction with your south node, that tells us that's a past life relationship right away. That's someone you already been with, right? That's the first thing. But they're gonna weaken your Mars in general. Doesn't necessarily mean they're gonna lead you to getting sick or getting ill or getting cancer, but they're gonna weaken your Mars. So you may feel lazy, you may feel exhausted by them. You also may find it really hard to be aggressive or assertive or stand up for yourself, right? So what's interesting about South Node conjunctions in synastry is typically they're not recommended. Are the South Node brings a lot of karmic things associated with loss and struggle. Sometimes when a partner South Node or our South Node is activated in synastry, our partner will cause loss or struggle or weakness or illness, or we will cause loss, struggle, weakness, or illness to our partner. It really depends. The overall chart needs to be looked at, though, right? We don't want to just isolate one particular aspect and say, oh, this is like a doomed relationship because of this one thing. We have to take a look at the overall chart to see what the karma is or to see what the story is. But in general, South Node Mars in synastry can be pretty challenging. It could be, especially for the Mars person, it could be hard for the Mars person. But anyways, so Hayden, she had this double activation of South Node Sun, and then she also has Neptune in direct opposition with her Venus and her Libra rising. She has Venus in Libra and Libra rising around 4, and Neptune in Aries is exactly opposite that. So that's when I saw that signature last night when I was looking at her chart really late. I kind of was like, okay, well, this is it. It has to be substance abuse. It has to be drugs. It has to be alcohol. It has to be something Neptunian and something South Nodian associated with her passing. And what Neptune and the South Node have in common is drugs and alcohol, but not only drugs and alcohol. So also prescribed medication, right? That's another thing that can be very dangerous. Prescription medication is also a South Node Neptune thing. So when people are having too much South Node, too much Neptune activation, don't go out to drink. Don't be mixing alcohol in pills. Be mindful of the pills that you're taking, especially if you're someone that you already know you're susceptible to that. You already know you have addictive issues or addiction issues. You already know that you have challenges and problems associated with South Node and Neptune. Like myself, I'm a Neptunian person. I'm very sensitive to drugs and alcohol. I don't drink alcohol. I don't like alcohol, thank goodness, but I'm really sensitive to drugs. Anything that I take, it like hits me like tenfold. So I'm very, very cognizant and very aware of like not taking things, not mixing things. I'm a very sober person in general, right? Because I know my predisposition. I'm a Pisces rising. I have Neptune touching everything in my chart, right? I have the South Node in the eighth house in Libra, you know? Let me tell you, one of the craziest downloads that I got when I saw the South Node in Mars and Libra in my eighth house and I started putting it all together is, what I realized when I had, because the South Node, wherever you have your South Node, is the thing that could be that could be the thing that undoes you. That can lead to your own self-destruction, or that could lead to your own undoing. Whatever you have your South Node in, wherever sign it's in, whatever house it's in, whatever planets are around it, the planet, the house, the sign can lead to your own demise. South Node. South Node is your own demise, right? So for me, let me tell you guys, I have the South Node in Libra in the eighth house with Mars. So you know what can lead to my own demise for me? Relationships with men. Quite literally. And the worst experiences in my life, the darkest places I've ever been to in my life in general, has been because of a man. It says been because of a relationship. The darkest place I've ever been to was with a man that had a Libra stellium all around my South Node in Libra in the eighth house and all around my Mars in the eighth house. That situation escalated to a moment where we ended up fighting and he ended up pushing me into the street and I almost got hit by a car. And I literally saw my life flash before my eyes. And like when the car swerved and honked and I like got up and I like snapped out of this like thing, this moment that I was in with this man, I just like ran to my car and I was just like super afraid and scared. But the download I got is South Node, Mars, and Libra. Libra is a sign of relationships. Eighth house is betrayal, deception, and death. Mars is the planet of men. So guess what? A man can lead to my undoing, right? And he almost did. So I just want you guys to be mindful of your South Node. Do research on your South Node. Get to know your South Node. Also, the South Node, the beautiful thing about the South Node is it's about spiritual psychic development. It's about releasing and surrender of things to become enlightened, to detach from the material world and to become like a wise guru, a psychic being, all those things. That's the high vibration of the South Node. We should be moving away from the habits, behaviors, patterns, people associated with our South Node. This is why I stay distant from Libra men. I'm very mindful when I meet someone that has Libra placements. I'm like, okay, well, I just got to figure out what my karma is with you before we engage, because I've already seen how destructive my own South Node, Mars and Libra in the eighth house can be. And so I have to be on guard. We have to be on guard to protect ourselves from the damage that the South Node can do, especially when it shows up in synastry, but also in our own life, right? So Jupiter in the seventh house is really good for love. It's about being with a foreign lover. Someone said, yeah, my eighth house ruler Venus conjuncts my Neptune in the fourth house. South Node is in Pisces in the sixth house. So, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if you have South Node and Pisces in the sixth, that's no drugs, no alcohol. And that's also a job. So I've also seen when people have South Node in the sixth house, they can have a job that leads them to illness and sickness, and a job that steals away their life force and takes away their time. So this is something that Ariana Grande has. South Node in the sixth house. Overworking, overperforming, overdoing, right? Having too much of a schedule, right? South Node in the sixth, and no rest, no sleep, no self-care, North Node in the 12th house will lead to Ariana Grande's undoing. It's her South Node in the sixth house. You can have a job or daily routine, or you can have work that literally leads you to illness or sickness, that leads to your undoing when you have the South Node in the sixth. And I've seen this before with clients that have the South Node in the sixth house, you know? So it's South Node in the ninth, yeah, exactly. If you're, and also if you have the South Node in the ninth, when you go overseas, don't break the law. Don't break the law. Don't get in trouble. Act moral, act ethical, act righteous. Also, when you have the South Node in the ninth house of foreign travel, international travel, don't go to places that are strange or weird by yourself. Don't put yourself in situations where that South Node can put you in a circumstance where you disappear. The South Node is also associated with disappearance. People that straight up disappear, they go missing. We don't know what happened to them. The South Node is 12th house, it's Piscean, it's Neptunian, 12th house energy. So I don't know if you guys have ever been lost at Disneyland, or you've been lost in the middle of the forest, or even you've been driving and you're like just lost. This was like before GPS days, When you are lost, when you get lost and you have no idea where you're at, or when you disappear, that's a South Node thing, that's a Neptune thing, and that's a 12th house thing. You see what I'm saying? So these are all things that you got to be mindful of. So if you have the South Node in the ninth house, guess what? When we're traveling, vacationing, we're not going by ourselves, number one, and we're not going to go into some weird isolated place where no one is around. So if you have the South Node in the ninth, I would tell you don't go hiking by yourself when you're on vacation or traveling, because that South Node energy can show up and put you into some precarious situations. You see what I'm saying? So you just want to be mindful of that, okay? Yeah, fifth house Virgo is we could talk about that. When I reopen for readings, we can get into that. So anyways, let's keep going because I could sit here all day talking about the South Node and and reading all your guys' South Node placements and telling you all about it. But if you really want to look into this, or if this is something you're curious about, when I am open for readings again in October, you can definitely book a reading with me. And these are things that I go really in depth with, that I talk about with people. I'm also very psychic. So, I get past life downloads about people's South Node and I tell them how they ended up with that South Node as well. So, all right. Um, all right, let's keep going. So, we are in eclipse season, right? We are in the South Node side of the eclipse season, or, we had that solar eclipse in Leo last week on the 12th on the South Node side of the ecliptic, or of the eclipse of the South Node side of the eclipses. Okay, excuse me. Um, so this week, what we're doing is we're moving through our Leo solar eclipse cycle. And we're going to see a lot of changes and upheavals this week, especially for fixed signs. Like I was saying in the beginning, Scorpio, Taurus, Aquarius, Leo. If you have your sun, moon, or rising, especially in a fixed sign, you kind of want to take a look at what's moving, what's shifting, what's changing in your life. Um, this week, actually, we have some very interesting astrology that's actually beneficial. So, one of the things I was talking about last week is I was talking about Venus, Jupiter, and Mercury forming this like sextile. Like Venus is in Libra, separating from a sextile with Jupiter and Mercury. But Venus and Jupiter, as of today, Monday, August 7th, or August 17th, Venus and Jupiter are still in a sextile. So this is a week where I will say, especially if you have like anything around the beginning degrees of like Sag, anything from like 0 to like 15 degrees of like Libra, Sag, Leo, Gemini, Aries, Aquarius. Like if you're an early degree fire earth sign person, if you have any placements within like the first like 10, 15 degrees of like a fire sign or an air sign, you're getting the benefit of the Jupiter, Mercury in Leo, and also the Venus in Libra. You've been getting the benefit of it since last week, and you're getting the benefit of it this week as well. So if you are a fire and air sign and you have early degree placement, especially if your sun, moon, or rising at an early degree, I want you to take a look and see how is Jupiter and Venus and Mercury asking you to like expand and grow. Venus and Libra has been inviting us to like make one-on-one connections or to invest in one-on-one connections or to even rebuild, heal one-on-one connections. A lot of people have been wondering, why are my exes coming back from the past? Mercury's not retrograde. Mercury's not retrograde. Why? I've this actually came up in my subscriber chat yesterday. Was it yesterday or the day before yesterday? It was one of those days. But anyways, they were saying that not only them, but like people around them, there's been people coming back from the past, like old lovers, old friends, like people coming back from the past. And one of the things, so there's a few reasons why this is happening. Okay. The first is because Venus in Libra is opposing Saturn retrograde in Aries. Okay, that's the first. So Venus is the planet of relationships and partnerships. Saturn is the planet of karma. Saturn is retrograde, bringing up karma from the past. Venus in Libra is opposing Saturn. We actually have a Venus Saturn opposition this week, which I'm going to talk about. Okay, so Saturn retrograde in Aries is bringing back karmic stuff to Venus and Libra. Like, wait a minute, this person from the past, you got to figure it out. You're not done with this person yet. There's something that may still be there, right? Or it may be a doubling down of why you release them and why you let them go in the first place. But I just want you guys to keep in mind that's the first one. That's a big reason why we're seeing a little bit of a return of people from the past. But the second one is because Venus is slowing down to retrograde. We are going to be having a Venus retrograde in the sign of Scorpio this year, right? In a few months. So we also got to keep in mind that Venus, right? She's going to go backwards eventually, and she's going to go back. She's going to start retrograding in Scorpio, early degree Scorpio, and she's going to go back into Libra, right? Forming a sign-based opposition to Saturn, who's retrograde in Aries. So we have to figure out this karmic tension that's happening between Saturn in Aries and Venus in Libra. And that's going to be a big thing this week. Relationships are going to be a huge theme this week. New contracts, new business partnerships. I really do think that people are going to be either committing to a new contract, making a promise to someone, finally saying yes, I'll date you, or we've been together for 7 years, 8 years, and now it's time for us to get engaged, something like that. But people are also going to be with the Venus Saturn opposition deciding, wait a minute, I don't want this relationship anymore. I don't want this contract anymore. I feel blocked. I feel trapped. I don't feel free. So the Venus in Libra opposition to Saturn retrograde in Aries is like, okay, let's release this. Let's break out of this karmic contract. Let's liberate ourselves from this obligation, from this responsibility, from this burden, from this contract, from this commitment that is not healthy, that is not good, that is no longer serving me, right? Yeah. So Lucy Vamp said that she has Saturn retrograde in Aries in her seventh, and she's a Libra rising. Yes. So Libra risings are either getting married or they're breaking up and separating and going through divorce, right? They're either meeting someone and these transits are confirming for Libra and Aries people, this is your partner, this is your life spouse, this is your husband, this is your wife, this is the person you're going to build with, right? Or no, we're releasing this, we're letting this go, boundaries, he has anger issues, that's a Libra rising thing, you have Aries in the seventh, okay? What did Hayden, she was a Libra rising. And what did she experience in her relationships? Abuse, physical abuse, psychological abuse, emotional abuse, neglect. Why? Because Venus, Libra, Taurus, they have a Mars ruled seventh house. They have Aries or Scorpio in the seventh. And Mars is a planet that could be violent. So a lot of Libras, Libra rising, Libra Venus, Libra moons, they do experience or even get into a relationship with men that are angry. They partner with men that are angry and that are mean and that are neglectful, hyper masculine, hyper sexy, very handsome. Hayden's baby daddy, who she never married, he was an MMA fighter. She has an Aries moon in the seventh house. She literally the first guy the guy that she ended up having a baby with, he was in MMA. He was a fighter. He was a warrior. That's Aries in the seventh house, right? So, but it's not safe though. It's not always safe. And this is where Venus, Libra, Taurus needs to be super careful. with who we're partnering with because, or who they're partnering with, because this Venus and Libra opposite Saturn Aries transit to this week can literally be showing you, wait a minute, your partner is selfish, your partner is angry, your partner is abusive, your partner has unrestrained desires. They cheat on you because they don't have self-control over the desire nature. Aries is our desire nature. Saturn is about self-control. Saturn is about self-containment. Saturn is about discipline, you know. If you wanted to, you would. You know what I mean? Like Saturn is like if you wanted to, you would. But you have to be disciplined. You got to like tame yourself. You got to tame your desires. So with Venus and Libra opposite Saturn retrograde in Aries this week, there could be something that's shown to us associated with an imbalance of power in relationships, right? There could be something that's shown to us around a partner that, is selfish and abusive, neglectful and angry, things like this, you know? But also those people could come back from the past in some type of way, right? We got to be mindful of what this energy is showing and revealing. If you are a Libra, Aries, Capricorn, or Cancer, this is volatile energy for you. This is not easy. Okay. It's the cardinal signs that are getting karmically checked by Saturn. Saturn in Aries is squaring Cancer and Libra, or Cancer and Capricorn. It's opposing Libra, right? So this Saturn retrograde in Aries is asking cardinal signs primarily, Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. You have your sun, moon, and rising there. What do you need to move away from? What is no longer meant to be a part of your timeline? What kind of commitments or obligations do you need to release yourself or free yourself from? And what do you need to be moving towards? What do you want to build towards? What do you want your future to look like? What do you need to commit to? Right? So that's another big question that Saturn is asking the cardinal signs. What do you need to release in terms of commitment or obligation or responsibility that's become burdensome, that feels empty, that's making you sad, that's making you depressed? And what do you need to embrace? What do you need to build towards? What do you need to, how do you need to pivot in a way? And possibly where do you need to commit to something that is good for you, that is healthy for you? So this can be about committing to a health routine. This can be about committing to sobriety. This could be about committing to education and schooling. I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to get my degree. I'm going to finish what I started in my 20s, in my 30s, and I had to drop out because X, Y, and Z. I'm going to go finish that. So I think it's like cardinal signs. We like it's really important, especially this week with Venus coming into post Saturn. So the other thing that's making cardinal energy a little messy is Mars's ingress into Cancer. So, I really do think Mars in Cancer, it's a challenging placement to have in the natal chart, but it's also challenging in transit. It brings up issues of domestic disturbance. It also brings up, hyper emotionality where people are easily triggered or easily angered. When Mars is in Cancer, right? Cancer is such a sensitive sign. It's the sign of the moon. This is why Mars is fallen in Cancer, because Mars in Cancer is like, it's like setting fire to our home, right? Mars in Cancer is like a foreign invader invading our homeland. That's why Mars is fallen in Cancer. Mars in Cancer is literally a house fire. That's why Mars is, so it's like you put a planet, Mars, the planet of war, of anger and rage and fighting and destruction and violence and guns, in Cancer, the sign of home and family and babies and the mother and what's safe and secure. And clearly that combination is going to yield some very destructive results, right? So Mars in Cancer is also causing some issues and causing some problems for cardinal signs specifically. Aries, Cancer, Capricorn, Libra, right? Because it's not just the Venus in Libra opposite Saturn and Aries, but it's also the Mars in Cancer that's also going to work here. And then also we have Mars square Neptune, so that brings a lot of confusion. A lot of us are feeling very angry. And I want you guys to take notice of where your anger is coming from. Mars in Cancer, what triggers us when Mars in Cancer is the things that we feel like we have to protect, the things that we feel where our safety is getting encroached on, the things that we feel that we're emotionally invested in, right? Cancer is what you're emotionally invested in. Mars is what you're going to fight for, right? So Mars in Cancer is asking us, what are you willing to fight for that you're emotionally invested in? Or what are you willing to fight for that you need to protect, that you need to keep safe, right? Mars in Cancer is like fighting for our family, fighting for our children, fighting for our homeland, fighting for our babies, right? Fighting for the next generation. That's Mars in Cancer. But I think it's important that with Saturn in Aries and Mars in Cancer, for like, at this moment, this week, and even like for the next month or so. Because Mars takes about a month and a half, a month and 3 weeks to transit a sign. Um, we need to ask ourselves what to do with the anger and the rage. Like many of us are feeling it. Many of us are feeling the anger. We're seeing it out in society. And we need to channel these energies in a healthy, appropriate way, you know? So with Mars in Cancer and Mars coming into square Saturn, we'll talk about that, I think, next week or the following week. Because Mars is going to come into square with Saturn, and that's going to be very tense. That's going to be a little bit of a tough transit. Um, what are we fighting for? What do we need to stand up for? How do we need to channel our anger and channel our rage in a healthy way? Yeah, I love this. Karen said exercise, sex, these are great places to put Mars for sure. Exercise, sex, physical activity, doing something very fun or very exciting, or also doing something adventurous, doing something that you've never done before, doing new things. That's also a very healthy expression of Mars. It's a good way, to let Mars energy out. And sometimes you just need to you just need to argue, Sometimes you just need to like vent. Like yesterday, I'm so grateful for a friend of mine, Jay. I think they're here. We hung out all day yesterday, and Jay was holding space for my anger and my rage. I didn't realize how much of it I had until yesterday. We were hanging out, and I was like, wow, like by the end of the day, I was like, damn, I'm angry about so many things. Like, holy moly, like I'm mad about so many things, And I really had to sit with myself yesterday and also this morning and be like, wow, like what are some healthy ways that I can like start dealing with this anger, or what are some things that I can like start doing to channel this anger, right? And get something productive out of it, right? But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because, we do have Mars in Cancer, and this is something that you got to be mindful of, especially if you are a cardinal sign. Anything at the early degrees of a cardinal sign this week, you have anything from 0 to 10 degrees of a cardinal sign, Mars is going to work on you. You just want to be a little mindful of that, okay? All right. So the other really cool thing that they would have this week, I think, is it this week? Let me see. Hold on. It might be this week because Mercury is flying. He's going so fast. Trying to think if we have a Sun Mercury conjunction. Oh, no, 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 no. It's not going to be next week. It's going to be in Virgo. Yes, we're going to have a Sun Mercury Cazimi. That's going to be. It's gonna be May. It's going to be on August 27th. Oh, yeah, it's part of our eclipse. Yeah, I remember this. I remember looking at the lunar eclipse in Pisces chart, and it's going to be a Sun Mercury Cazimi. So that's going to be a really interesting eclipse. We'll talk about that when we get there, though. Okay, we're not going to talk about it in this live. We're going to focus on the astrology of the week. All right, so let's kind of dive in. So I'll address certain things as we're moving along. We don't really have big planetary shifts or transits, like planets going into new signs or anything this week. Other than the nodes. The nodes do shift into Leo and Aquarius. But we've been talking about that for the last, few weeks. So this is probably going to be a little bit of a shorter live. Okay, it's not going to be like a 4 hour live, 3 hour live like we usually do. But let's kind of talk about the astrology. Let's go through the day by day and kind of speak to the lunar transits and things to kind of look out for this week, okay? So let me get back to the current moment. Okay. So we're wrapping up with the moon in Libra today. Um, we have the moon go through Virgo and Libra since our solar eclipse in Leo, but I'm gonna tell you right now, you guys. Tomorrow things are gonna get a little sticky. Things are gonna feel a little intense, maybe a little dark. There might be some tragic news or some difficult news that we get again about maybe a celebrity or about a leader or about a boss or CEO or something like this. The reason being is because tomorrow, everybody coming in, welcome. I'm just diving into the astrology of the week. The reason being is because tomorrow the moon goes into Scorpio. Okay. And the moon goes into its fallen state. So not only is the moon going to Scorpio where it's fallen, but the moon is also responding to Mars, who's in Cancer, who's also fallen. So we have a weak moon and a weak Mars tomorrow. And that actually happens in the morning time. So they're actually going to be going exact. Yep, 7 a.m. Pacific time. I'm looking at 7 a.m. Pacific time. Actually, let me put in my time zone. Hold on. I got to make sure that this is like the right time. Oh, it's actually going to be, yeah, see, I'm glad I put in the time. It's actually going to be around midnight Pacific time. So this will be 3 a.m. for you if you're on the East Coast. We're going to have the moon in Scorpio at 4, trining Mars in Cancer at 4. So moon trine Mars. And they're going to be making this aspect to each other. The other thing is that Mars is also quincunx Pluto. The moon is squaring Pluto. Okay. So what I will say is enjoy the peace of today as the moon is in Libra. Obviously, we're grieving, you know. We had a big celebrity pass away and we all felt it. So there is a collective grief that we're feeling, but we're gonna really feel that grief tomorrow when the moon's in Scorpio. I will say this can be very challenging emotionally. Tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, as the moon is in Scorpio, it could be a little difficult. The reason why the moon in Scorpio transit is so important this week is because the moon in Scorpio is our waxing square from our solar eclipse in Leo that we had on the 12th. So the moon in Scorpio is squaring the solar eclipse by sign. So the moon in Scorpio is an activation point for the eclipse energy, but it's a challenging activation point because why? It's a square. Squares bring conflict, bring hardship, bring difficulty. Also, squares push us into action. So they activate us, they get us to do something or they invite us to do something, right? So what I will say is tomorrow, as the moon goes into Scorpio from tonight until tomorrow morning, we want to be very mindful of hyper emotional reactions, being overly defensive, being excessively emotionally triggered. Okay. There can be some deep emotional feelings like resentment, jealousy, betrayal, trust issues. You know, if you have unresolved feelings towards someone, do not be surprised if tomorrow morning you wake up with them on your mind, like, fuck that, you know, you know what I mean? So just be a little mindful of that. Someone said, so should I avoid going to college for the next 2 days? No, I don't think so. You know, I don't think you should avoid going to college. You know what I mean? It's these these transits are, you know, we always got to be very careful about letting astrology dictate too much in our life, you know? And unless you are having a transit, unless like this moon, Mars and Scorpio, this moon in Scorpio at 4 and Mars in Cancer at 4 is like directly aspecting your chart, activating your chart, I wouldn't tell you to not go to college. You know, the chances of something happening to you that are very bad are like highly unlikely. You know, it's your call though. It's your call. If you want to not go to college, then that's fine. But more than likely, you're gonna be fine. You know, more likely you're gonna be fine, especially if these transits are activating you, or if you're not getting hit by the eclipse, you're not getting hit by multiple things, you know, in the astrology. So, I would say go to school. You know, still go to school. But anyways, um, with moon trine Mars tomorrow, but a fallen moon and a fallen Mars. Okay. Also okay, so there's been okay, they're in a mutual exchange. That's another thing. Okay, they're in a mutual exchange. So that's another thing I just realized. So the moon is in Scorpio, which is Mars' sign traditionally, and then Mars is in Cancer, which is the moon sign. They're at 4 degrees, which is an exact trine. So there are kind of mutually beneficial or mutually positive aspects. This can be about a confession. So with the moon in Scorpio and Mars in Cancer, this can literally be about someone confessing their love. You know, you finding out that someone lied to you, a secret coming to the surface, you know, you realizing like, wait a minute, this is what I thought happened, didn't happen. You can get clarity or insight around that as well. But we can also, because it's Mars and it's Mars in Cancer, trining the moon in Scorpio, we can feel emotionally motivated to do something or to act on something tomorrow, you know, and it can be tied to the eclipses. Um, we got to also keep in mind that Venus is coming into an opposition with Saturn. In the moon in Scorpio, you know, Scorpio, this is the axis of Mars and Venus, right? So Scorpio opposes Taurus. Taurus is ruled by Venus, Scorpio is ruled by Mars. So whenever we have the axis of Libra and Aries and Taurus and Scorpio activated, relationships become a theme. Trust issues become a theme. Money in relationships becomes a theme, right? So we want to be very mindful of what emotional stuff is coming up for us. Starting tomorrow with the moon in Scorpio. Well, I mean, come on, we're in eclipse in Leo, so it's already probably showing up. But I will say the moon in Scorpio tomorrow can trigger this and can open up the wound in some type of way. Okay. So we just want to be very mindful of where our emotions are at. What I also will say is if you have violent, angry people in your life, just be very mindful of how you navigate those relationships or how you navigate those people, because you know this energy is very volatile, it's very triggering, and it's not like a safe energy. I just don't think eclipse energy is safe. It's just not a safe energy. I just don't trust eclipse energy. I don't trust the south node and the north node. I just don't, because I've seen with my clients how the nodes go to work, and I've seen how the nodes actually manifest in people's lives, and the nodes can be a very, very dangerous, destructive thing, right? Not always, but if we're getting hit by the nodes and we already have a predisposition to certain things, right? We already have a certain vulnerability, or we're already in a precarious situation in some way, then the nodes can kind of push things over the edge. You know what I mean? So, and the eclipses can push things over the edge. So, don't want to do any fear mongering, but we also got to be honest with what these things are. And sometimes the planets and the astrology is scary. Saturn's a scary planet. If you're not scared of Saturn, you have not read the Old Testament. Okay? When the Old Testament is talking about the fear of God, okay, and I did a whole thing about this, it's literally Saturn that they're talking about. All right? It's literally Saturn that they're talking about. Someone asked, when does this energy end? Well, if you're asking about the eclipse energy, then the eclipse energy, we're going to be out of it by the first week of September. Well, second week of September. So if you're asking about the eclipse energy, we'll be out of the eclipse energy by about like the 8th, the 9th of September. We'll be fully out of the eclipse energy. 1 week before, well, kind of 1 week leading up to the eclipse, the 2 week cycle between the two eclipses, and then the 2 weeks after the last eclipse. Because in general, we always want to take a look at new moon and full moon cycles as like a 2 week thing. Because then the next lunar event, so after our lunar eclipse in Pisces, we have a new moon in Virgo, and that's going to reset the energy and kind of take us out of the eclipse energy, right? But the moon in Scorpio, if you're asking about the moon in Scorpio, well, that's going to be for the next 3 days. So we have the moon in Scorpio starting Monday evening, Tuesday morning. So the 17th, so yeah, 18th, going all the way until Wednesday. So then by Wednesday evening, the moon's at 29 Scorpio, and then the moon goes into Sag. All right. So what I will say though, so that was what I was talking about with Moon trine Mars. That's specifically tomorrow. Um, is this a good energy for moving into a new place? It really depends on your chart. A lot of people are moving right now, relocating when the moon gets eclipsed. When the moon gets eclipsed, right? When the moon is getting eclipsed, the moon is our living situation. It's our home situation. So, a lot of people will suddenly erratically move if their moon is getting hit by the eclipse in some type of way, or if their fourth house ruler is getting hit by the eclipse, or if they're literally having the eclipses happen between the 10th house, fourth house axis. So if you are like a Taurus rising or Scorpio rising, and you're having the eclipses in Leo and Aquarius hit your 10th house, fourth house axis, it's quite possible that during this eclipse cycle, you're going to suddenly, unexpectedly move in some type of way, or there'll be some change with your living situation. So this can literally be like, oh, a man, like they're deciding to sell the property, like, oh, you're renting somewhere and the owner is like, oh, I'm selling the property. You guys got to be out within 3 months or 6 months, right? Or this could also be, oh, someone's moving out. Oh, I'm having a child moving out, and I'm having a mom or dad move out, or there could be people moving in. Sometimes what also happens is when an eclipse hits your fourth and your 10th house axis, you will have someone move in. Okay. So, but there'll definitely be some kind of sudden or erratic change with the home or living situation. It can be positive though. It can be positive. Sometimes the eclipses will get you to move because you've been wanting to move for a long time, but the circumstances haven't aligned themselves. So then the eclipse comes through and it opens up the door to allow you to move or relocate, right? So it all kind of depends on the way it's hitting your chart and your fourth house ruler and your fourth house and the moon. So if your moon is getting squared, let's say you have a moon in Taurus or Scorpio that's getting squared by the eclipses. Let's say you have a moon at like 20 Scorpio, 20 Taurus, and then this eclipse that was at 20 Leo squared it. Guess what? You can unexpectedly move or relocate, or you could unexpectedly get pregnant and have a baby. That's also what the eclipses will bring, a baby that you didn't want, but it was divinely ordained and it was meant to come. The eclipses will do that too. And also Saturn. Saturn will do that too. Saturn will bring you a baby that is your burden. Your baby is your burden. Saturn. Saturn's like, and it's funny because I can always see when I'm doing synastry with a parent and a child, I can always see when the child is the parent's Saturn lesson. It's very obvious. It's so funny actually. It's like because I can always see when a parent has a Saturn child or like their Saturn return child or like the child that's meant to be the burden, like the one that's going to test them and the one that's going to challenge them, and the one that's going to rebel against them, and the one that's going to think that they're smarter than them. That's your Saturn child. Your Saturn child thinks that they're smarter than you. They think you're incapable. They think they're burdensome. They're needy. They need a lot from you. Okay. They're gonna overstep your boundaries. They're gonna be a little cold or mean to you sometimes. That's your Saturn children. And they're gonna read you eventually. As they get older, they're gonna read you. They're gonna tell you exactly who you are, and you may not like it, but hey, listen, it's their work. That's what Saturn has sent them to do. You know what I mean? My mom had me at, yep, that's you. You're a Saturn baby. She said, my mom had me at 27, and you're an eclipse baby. Because also at 27, we're going through our reverse nodal return, right? So we go through our first reverse nodal return around 9 years old. And then we go through our reverse nodal return around 18, 19. And then we go through our second reverse. We go through our nodal return 18, 19. We go through our second nodal return, reverse nodal return around 27, 28. And then we go through our nodal return again at 36. So it kind of happens in 9 year increments, 9, 18, 27, 36, roughly. We go through our eclipses or we get hit by the eclipses. So if you're born like if you were born around 18 when your parent was like 18 or 19, or if you were born when they were like 27 or 28, you and your parents are going to have the same nodes. You guys are going to have the same nodes. So you're going to have the same north node, same south node, or they're going to be reversed. If you're born during their reverse nodal return, right? Which happens at 27. Yeah. Because 18 and 36, those are our nodal returns. Someone said, "Yeah, I had my first and only baby at 18." Yeah, and that's your eclipse baby. Yeah, that's your eclipse baby. It's so common for parents to have the same nodes or the same Saturn as their children. Because why? Your babies are what? Can I hear it from the audience? Karmic. Your babies are your karma. They're your burden to carry. Okay? They're your test. Being a parent is a test. You're being tested by Saturn and by the sun. Saturn and the sun and the moon, they're all testing you to see how good you're going to do as a parent. And let me tell you, many of you do not pass the test. I love you. I do, but I got to be honest. Okay. Some of y'all, you got to do a little bit better. You're dropping the ball. You're dropping the ball. And guess what? You're going to have to come back and do it again. And this time, your child is going to be the parent and you're going to be the child. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But not really, but I am. But I am. I'm just kidding, but not really, but I am. Okay. So, anyways, let's keep going. So, we were talking about Tuesday with Moon going into Scorpio, trining Mars. Okay. Wednesday, so Tuesday evening. Actually, this is still Tuesday. Let me go back a few hours. Hold on, wait a minute. Let me go back a few hours. I'm over here looking at like end of day Tuesday, but I have to go back to midday Tuesday because we have an aspect that I believe is very important. And this is why I think tomorrow can also bring some kind of good news, or we can have like a consultation or a meeting with someone tomorrow, like a consultation with a lawyer, a doctor. We could be talking to a therapist tomorrow. It could be a little challenging though. There could be some conflict associated with it. There may also be a course of action that needs to be taken or an opportunity that needs to be taken, but it can come with like some challenge or it could come with an obstacle in some way. So, what happens around 12 p.m. Pacific time tomorrow, the moon in Scorpio squares Jupiter in Leo. Okay. Moon square Jupiter can be about overindulgence. It could also be about an experience with a Jupiterian person. So tomorrow with Moon Square Jupiter, we're going, yeah, look at someone said they have a doctor appointment. Yeah, we're going to talk to a doctor. We're going to talk to a judge. We're going to go to therapy. We're going to do something Jupiterian tomorrow. We're going to talk to a Jupiter person tomorrow, possibly with Moon Square Jupiter. Or there can also be an opportunity. There could be an open door. There could be some good information, some good knowledge, some good wisdom that comes in tomorrow. So the other thing is not only is Moon squaring Jupiter tomorrow, but Moon is also squaring Mercury, which is the planet of medicine, which is the planet of also routines and habits. Oh, someone said they have a meeting. Yeah, look at this. They have a meeting with their lawyer tomorrow. You know what? These other astrologers need to leave me alone. Get off my ass. I hate to bring this up again, but damn, what is wrong with y'all? Okay? Yes, I'm better than you at astrology. Yes, I'm better than you. Get with it. Figure it out. I'm sorry. I just like it just I'm just very disappointed in the astrological community right now. I hate to bring this up again, but like I just got these haters that be, on my ass. And if anything, they should be here in the audience learning. If anything, all you hater astrologers, listen, come join the live and learn from me. Humble yourself, if anything. Like they're so mean to me. Why? I don't get it. Sorry. I didn't I didn't mean to bring that up, but it's just, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Everything with my work and my career life is like so good. Like like, like I'm booked and busy. Like, I've been doing this for 5 years now, 6 years actually. As of this year, it's gonna be 6 years I've been doing this. And like I've been good. I've been growing, I've been abundant, I've been very successful as an astrologer and as a tarot reader. I've been doing this for a while. But to have these strangers, these people that I don't even know, that have no idea who I am, they have no idea that I've been doing this for a while. They haven't even came to look at my page, look at my reviews or anything. Just saying negative things about me or trying to diminish my work or attacking my work. It's just the weirdest, strangest thing because I'm such a loving, kind, generous person. Like I'm so open and like willing. And my biggest disappointment, not only navigating astrological spaces in the present, like in the physical, like actually going to astrology group meetups, but also in the digital space, has just been the hate and the competition. And like it has to be envy, jealousy. I don't know what else could it be associated with my practice and my work. Like it's just crazy to me. Like, anyways, let's keep talking. Yeah. Who cares about them? Exactly. Who cares about them? But it's because, I'm such a sensitive person. I'm a Pisces rising and I'm a Neptune guy. So I'm so sensitive. And, I've had to, and this is like a trauma from like my childhood. Like, I just always want people to like me, you know? I just want people to like me. I just want to be accepted. I want to be included. I want to be liked. And I'm having to realize, like, you know what? I gotta let that go. I gotta let that go. I gotta let that desire for belonging and for inclusion and for acceptance, I gotta let it go. Because there's people that are just not gonna give that to me because why? They're jealous and they're envious and they're haters, and they're good and they're in competition with me in their own mind. It's crazy, I'm over here doing my thing. I'm living my life. I'm doing my thing. I'm shining, glowing, happy, successful. It's okay to be the villain in the story. And I've told you guys this as well, I've told you guys, like, I gotta start what I gotta start practicing what I preach for sure. And I had a conversation with a friend on this yesterday, Me too, but now that I'm older, I don't care anymore. It's okay to be the villain in the story. Yeah. So let's keep talking. So tomorrow, right? The reason why tomorrow is kind of like productive, and we may get some good news or get some good insight tomorrow. There could be like an opportunity that's presented to us. There could be a way forward. We can have a consultation or conversation with someone that's very important. So, like I was saying, doctor, lawyer, judge, things like this, is because the moon is not only squaring Jupiter tomorrow, but the moon is also squaring Mercury. So we have a Jupiter Mercury thing. And the fact that Mercury is separating from Jupiter, they had that conjunction over the weekend. I think it was Saturday or Friday that Jupiter and Mercury conjoined. So Mercury, as he's moving forward and separating from Jupiter this week, he's bringing Jupiter's blessings. He's bringing a message from Jupiter. He's opening up a door from Jupiter. He wants you to have a conversation. Mercury's like, okay, have this conversation with this Jupiter person because this Jupiter person has something for you. They have an opportunity, they have an open door, they have a way forward, they have some wisdom, they have some insight. There's something beneficial that Jupiter has for you, and Mercury wants to give you that information this week as he's moving through Leo and separating from Jupiter, right? Because he had that Jupiter, we had that Jupiter Mercury conjunction last week or just this past Saturday. It was like Friday going to Saturday that Jupiter Mercury conjoined. So if you are a fire sign, especially, okay, you're gonna probably reap the benefits of this. Also, if you're an air sign, especially if you're a Gemini, Libra, this could be very beneficial for you. Aries, Libra, Leo, Gemini, Sag. This could be these are very beneficial transits for you. So I want you to think, especially if you're a fire sign, because you're receiving the conjunction or the trine from Jupiter, and also from Mercury. Um, I want you to think of like where are you being called to like expand and grow, especially if you're a fire sign or an air sign, especially if you're a fire sign though. Like where are you being called to expand and grow? You like need to learn something, you need to go on vacation, you need to travel, you may need to relocate, right? There's something about moving very far possibly or getting a job that's very far, right? Or like moving up in society, moving up in your career life, or even launching, starting something, beginning something, birthing something new. So Jupiter and Leo is asking the fire signs, and he's kind of telling them and even giving them insight into where they can grow or expand in some type of way. Um, Not only fire signs, but also air signs, because you guys are receiving the beneficial aspects from Jupiter and Leo. You're receiving the sextiles, you're receiving the trines, things like this. So, and I'm seeing this in my own life. So I don't have like key fire placements, but actually I do. I have Jupiter and Leo and Saturn and Sag. So for me, Saturn and Aries in the same sign as my Jupiter, Jupiter and Leo, trining my Jupiter and Aries, trining my Saturn and Sag. Like for me, I'm literally seeing, because this is all my second, sixth, 10th house axis, is like my work career life. I'm literally seeing how Jupiter and Saturn are working together to like expand my social media influence, to expand my career. Jupiter went into my sixth house of clients, and I got an influx of new clients with now that my page is kind of like exploding or has gotten, pretty popular over the last few months. So it's so interesting to see how even in my own transits, I'm seeing how Jupiter is bringing expansion and growth, right? But another thing to keep in mind is Jupiter can bring overwhelm. Jupiter can also bring too much of things, too many opportunities, too many lovers, too many open doors, right? And when Jupiter brings too much of things, the task becomes discernment and choice. You know, Jupiter is a planet that always brings blessings and opportunity. He will just bring things to you, right? But not every opportunity is like a good one. Not every opportunity is going to yield good results. Sometimes it's a test. Sometimes Jupiter is testing you. Like, oh, are you going to take the easy route? Are you going to take the shortcut? Or are you going to take the long road and do like, right? Sometimes the shortcut, sometimes easy route is okay. It's fine, but not always. Sometimes Jupiter does tempt us and puts us in situations where we get scammed or deceived, we get taken advantage of, or it's too good to be true. Sometimes Jupiter's blessings are actually too good to be true, and there's a deceptive element to Jupiter's blessings. Why is this? Where could this come from? Well, because Jupiter rules Pisces. Traditionally, right? Pisces, the sign of escapism, the sign of deception, the sign of scams, the sign of hidden mysterious things. Pisces rules over spiritual workers and psychic ability, but Pisces also rules over scams. So why do you think there's a big reoccurring trope, right? Or reoccurring like stereotype of like psychics and intuitives and spiritual people being scammers because it all comes back to Jupiter and Pisces, you know? So we want to think about that with Moon square Jupiter tomorrow, Moon also square Mercury tomorrow. Overdoing things, overindulgence, overspending, if we do have opportunities that show up with Moon square Jupiter and also Moon square Mercury tomorrow, we want to be discerning with what we say yes to. We want to also be, um, what is this? We want to not only be discerning, but we also want to be investigative and a little skeptical. We kind of want to, and we kind of want to see, okay, what are you offering me? Let me read the fine print, let me read all the details. Like, let's get into the nitty-gritty of things before I say yes. Okay, so just be mindful of that tomorrow, okay? With Moon and Scorpio squaring Jupiter and Mercury in Leo. This is also a combination that Nolan Wells has. So Nolan Wells, he does have a Scorpio moon, so I'm gonna have to we'll redo his chart in the future at some point because the birthday that I actually did his chart with was wrong. Someone actually went on YouTube and and clarified that for me. We actually had the wrong birthday for him. So he actually doesn't have a Cancer moon like we thought, Nolan Wells. He actually has a Scorpio moon, which is challenging. So he's a Leo stellium with a moon in Scorpio squaring his Leo stellium. So with the moon in Scorpio tomorrow and all this Leo energy in the sky, with Nolan Wells also going through a Jupiter return, we may see some information or some insight about that case. I was actually reading today that I think the NAACP or something, there was like some big organization that joined Nolan Wells's legal team, and that information came out oh yeah, NAACP, yeah. So 5 hours ago. Yeah, NAACP joins legal team in Nolan Wells death investigation. So Nolan Wells, for those of you that don't know, and he was the African American teenager, superb football athlete, well loved, beloved by his community, just a straight up star. He was a star, and he went out on a boat trip with his friends on the 4th of July, and he didn't make it back. So they came back without him, and then he turned up dead like a few days later on the island, on Horn Island, where they went to party and have fun for the 4th of July. So, there's been tons of like there hasn't been any answers, any clarity with the way that he passed. So we might see some insight or get some information about his passing tomorrow with the moon in Scorpio and the sun in Leo and the whole Leo stellium that's in the sky right now. Okay. So we have sun square moon going into Wednesday. The moon and the sun are going to square each other, right? Hold on, let me see. Yeah, let me just double check. Let me get the time on that. Hold on. I got to kind of navigate this real quick. Let me get there. Sun square moon. When does that happen? Is that Wednesday? It is Wednesday. Sun square moon, Wednesday. So it's going to be Wednesday around, okay, it's around through, it's around 2 p.m. Wednesday, August 19th. We have the moon square the sun. Okay, the moon's at 24, the sun's at 26 at this time. So the moon's building into a square. So the exact square may hit actually around like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock p.m. But moon square sun can create tension or battles with authority figures. It can also lead to like moments of uh moments of crisis. So the word that I'm just gonna go with it because the word that came to me was crisis, so I'm just gonna use it. Obviously that word wouldn't have came to me if it wasn't like important or if it wasn't particular to that aspect. So it can lead to like some kind of crisis moment. The reason is because the moon is not only squaring the sun, but the moon is also squaring the eclipse point. So the eclipse point was at 20 degrees, right? So when the moon gets to 20 Scorpio, The moon is actually forming an exact square to that eclipse point that we had that was at 20 Scorpio or at 20 Leo. So that's going to happen at 6 in the morning. So the moon's at 20 Scorpio, 6 in the morning Pacific time, Wednesday, August 19th. We're going to have moon square the nodal point. Are we back? Are we back? Oh, crap. Hold on. What am I trying to do here? Hey, can you guys hear me? Are we back? Okay, good. All right. Some, yeah, I just put my phone on do not disturb. Okay, cool. Awesome. Right. Perfect. 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 Okay. So I was talking about the moon squared the eclipse point. So moon, Scorpio 20 degrees, Wednesday squaring the eclipse point and also squaring the sun by later on in the day, around the afternoon. So I want you guys to be very aware of Wednesday. Wednesday could be volatile. Wednesday could be chaotic. There may be a very prominent story in the news around a tragedy, around a passing, around a loss associated with the eclipse. It could be like a celebrity CEO, something like this, so you want to just be very mindful of this. The other thing that's also building at this time, Venus is building into her opposition with Saturn. So Venus is at 12 Libra, directly opposite Saturn at 14 Aries. And Saturn's retrograde in Aries. And so Saturn, he's going to come into this opposition, or I'm sorry, Venus is going to hit this opposition with Saturn on Friday. Friday, August 21st. The Venus Saturn opposition goes exact. Right as the moon is also at 14 Sag this day. So I'll talk about that when we get there, okay? But I want you guys to be aware of this aspect that's building. It's within 2 degrees of perfecting by Friday, right? It's Venus opposite Saturn. I want you guys to be aware of this aspect that's building. It's super important because this Venus is the planet of relationships and partnerships. Venus is also the planet of justice. She's the planet of fairness. She's in Libra, the sign of justice, the sign of equality, right? The sign of lawyers, the sign of the courtroom, which is Libra. Libra is a courtroom. Libra is also the marketplace. So Libra is also connected to expenditures, purchases. Venus, Libra is also connected to contracts that we do, right? So what planet exalts in Libra? Saturn, the planet of contracts, commitment, longevity, long-term things, right? This is also why here in the United States, mortgages are how long? Around 30 years long. Because why? That's a whole Saturn cycle, right? So a lot of times when Venus is opposing Saturn, we will see people, like I was saying earlier in the live, either break out of a contract or form a new contract. They'll either commit to someone new or they'll release themselves from a relationship or partnership. They'll either, get engaged and get married, or they'll go through like a divorce or separation. But Saturn, in some ways, the Venus Saturn opposition on Friday is going to probably test our relationships. When Saturn opposes Venus in transit, themes of boundaries, themes of rejection, themes of betrayal, not betrayal, no, not betrayal, not betrayal, not betrayal. Yeah, Saturn could be a betrayer, but not really. Saturn's more like a manipulator. So Saturn's more about control around neglect. Saturn's more about, psychological or emotional abuse. Mars is about physical abuse, physical violence. When someone is physically scaring you, physically intimidating you, they're using your space, physical space to like scare you or hurt you or harm you or, something like that. That's Mars. But Saturn, he's abusive and neglectful in a different way. It's more psychological and emotional. It's more about detachment. It's more about cold treatment. So with Venus coming into post Saturn on Friday, that can be a day that's a little hard, you know? for relationships and partnerships, but this kind of buildup, I will tell you, could bring up some tension or can bring up some conflict or could bring up some kind of issue in relationships and partnerships with Venus coming into post Saturn. So we're going to start to feel this on Wednesday, really, because they're already within 2 degrees. We might already be feeling this. We might already be feeling this Venus Saturn opposition, especially if you are like a cardinal sign and you've been in like some weird karmic situations with friends or with lovers or whatever. Like you could be feeling this pressure, you could be feeling this tension, and then as Venus comes into post Saturn on Friday, it could culminate into like a moment. It could culminate into like, this release, or it could also culminate into a moment of like forgiveness or closure where you guys come to some kind of resolve. Venus in Libra is trying to bring peace. She's trying to bring resolve. She's trying to bring healing. She's trying to bring balance and fairness, right? But Saturn in Aries is the criminal. Saturn in Aries is, he's the what do you call this? Saturn in Aries, he's the perpetrator, you know, he's the offender, Saturn in Aries, right? So Venus in Libra, she could be trying to be like, hey, let's make it work, let's figure it out. And Saturn in Aries is like, no, I want war. I want conflict. I want to do my own thing. I want independence. I want space. I want boundaries, right? So sometimes what happens during a Venus Saturn opposition in transit is we will experience moments of rejection. We will experience moments of rejection, or we'll have fallouts with friends or fallouts with groups of people. Another reason why Saturn is fallen in Aries is because Saturn is a group community planet. Saturn rules over Aquarius traditionally. Aquarius is your friendships, your social groups, the community groups that you're a part of. So Saturn, he's fallen in Aries because why? Aries is the sign of the individual. Aries is the sign of the self. It's a sign of me, what I want, my desires, right? So the big thing that we're seeing in so many ways with Saturn in Aries is we're seeing like fallouts happen with individuals and communities. We just had this whole thing happen with Stephen Forrest in the astrological community, where Stephen Forrest said some racist, crazy-ish on a podcast, and it literally has thrown the astrological community into crisis, into war. Like there's people that are choosing sides, right? But this kind of like this energy of division and separation, this energy of war and conflict amongst community members, that's why Saturn has fallen in Aries. This is something we got to keep in mind. What's also so interesting about the whole Stephen Forrest situation is Saturn is squaring his sun and his Jupiter exactly, and so I'd be looking at some of these like even Stephen Forrest, he's been an astrologer for years since he was like in his 20s. Are you not looking at your own transit, sir? If you see Saturn coming into a square with your sun or opposing your sun, you don't make any big public moves or public statements, or you don't release anything that could be contentious to the public that could damage your public image or your public reputation. The sun is the planet of our visibilities, how we're seen, how we're known. The sun has so much to do with our reputation just as much as Saturn. Both of these planets have a lot to do with how we project ourselves into the world, how we're seen in the public, how we're our kind of bigger image, our public image. That's all Saturn and the sun. So when you have a Saturn transit where Saturn is squaring your sun or opposing your sun, it's probably not the best time to make moves that are contentious or that are going to be political or that are going to go or release things that are going to create controversy. Because why? Saturn will lead to a fall from grace. A lot of leaders, celebrities, CEOs, whatever, when they experience a Saturn transit, they will lose their job. They'll have a fall from grace. They'll get ostracized publicly. They'll get involved in a scandal, something like that. And then it ultimately damages and ruins their reputation. You know what I mean? So, yeah, we just got to be very mindful with this Venus opposite Saturn. You got to be very mindful of, how Saturn transits are moving, but also what Saturn is having us address this week with relationships and partnerships, with our ability to connect to others, or also with our ability to free ourselves from relationships that are burdensome, heavy, cold, depressing, sad. If you're with someone, or if you have friendships, connections, relationships, whatever, that like make you sad, that depress you, that deplete you, that make you feel less than, that make you feel insecure, that make you feel lack of freedom or control or independence in your life, you got to take a look at that. You got to ask yourself, hey, is this really what's best for me moving forward? Should I start like pivoting things and strategizing and planning to like free myself and to like, get myself in a new direction or something? These are questions that I think, the Venus Saturn opposition this week are going to be asking people. So, yeah. So on Wednesday, with the moon squaring the sun and the moon squaring the nodes, and with Venus coming into post Saturn, I want you guys to be very mindful of what is evolving and what is shifting and what is changing in the realm of relationships this week, especially if you're a cardinal sign. If you have Cancer, Capricorn, Aries, Libra, especially if you have Aries, Libra, and also if you are a fixed sign, Scorpio, Taurus, Aquarius, Leo, but especially if you are Leo and Aquarius. So Aries, Libra, Leo, Aquarius, your relationship life is being highlighted by by this eclipse cycle and also by this Saturn Venus opposition. So the Leo solar eclipse is highlighting relationship stuff for Leo and Aquarius people, but also the Venus Saturn opposition is highlighting relationship stuff for Aries Libra people. And if you got both of these placements, if you're getting double whammy by this, just keep in mind that whatever's meant to happen in the realm of relationships and partnerships right now, whether it's like a forming and a coming together or a releasing and a surrendering and a purging of like a connection or relationship, that is part of your karmic duty. Like that's literally part of your development in this timeline. Reread what some people are saying. I have Libra Lilith and Aries Stellium. I just had to write a breakup letter. He's gonna see it this week. Yeah, look at I have Libra Lilith and Aries Stellium. I just had to write a breakup letter. He's gonna see it this week. Exactly. Give it to him on Friday, on the day of the Saturn Venus opposition. Give it to him on Friday. Be like, invite him to dinner. Invite him to dinner. Okay? And let it be like it's like our last dinner together. Like, has anyone ever had that? Like, has anyone ever had like your last like sexual experience with someone, or like your last dinner together with someone or something, and you knew that, or your last vacation, and you knew that it was like the end, like you knew that this was like the last time y'all were gonna do the deed, and this is the last time you're gonna see them. Like, has anyone ever had that? I've had that. And it was like so like emotional and so sad. And it was like so dramatic. Like I'm never gonna see you again. I'm like thinking to myself, like, I'm never gonna see you again. Oh, you should do it. Yeah, try it out. It's fun. It could be like a little like dramatic movie moment. If you ever want to like have like a dramatic, sad movie moment or whatever, yeah, go break up with someone, but bring them to dinner first, or have like a little like ceremony with them, but that they don't even know about. That's crazy. That's very toxic. Don't do what I do, okay? Listen, don't listen to me, all right? I have a Scorpio stellium, okay? I have Venus in Scorpio. I could be a little toxic, all right? I'm gonna be honest. Like, I am a saint when it comes to like my everyday life and my work, but when in relationships, oh no, I can be a little. That's why I've been single for so long, because I could be a little bit of a menace. But it's not my fault though. It's these men. Okay? They push me to it. All right? And if they came correct, they wouldn't have to see that side of me. But unfortunately, they don't come correct. Therefore, they shall see that side of me. Okay? So, anyways, let's keep going. So, Moon square Sun Wednesday. Okay? And then the moon is going to come into square the nodes. So, the other thing that happens Wednesday is the nodes go into Leo and Aquarius. So not only is the mean node or the average node already in Aquarius and Leo. Oh, I'm sorry, not only is the true node already in Aquarius and Leo, but the mean node, which is what you see on AstroSeek, which takes an average of the nodal position and averages the node, because the nodes kind of go back, they bounce back and forth like this, they bounce back and forth like that. So what you see on AstroSeek, if you do use AstroSeek, is the mean node. That's what you're seeing. Well, the mean node actually switches into Aquarius and Leo on Wednesday. So we are really in our north node and south node in Aquarius and Leo energy starting this Wednesday. We're really in that nodal energy, okay? But there could also be something very extreme or very intense about Wednesday, we have so much planetary activation. We have Moon square Jupiter, Mercury, Sun, and then eventually Wednesday evening going into Thursday morning, we have the Moon square the nodes as the nodes go into Leo and Aquarius. And the nodes are at 29 degrees, which is an extreme degree. It's a very karmic degree. It's a degree of finality and conclusion. What's so interesting is that the nodes go backwards, right? So the nodes do not follow the same path as the planets. The nodes are going against the planets. They're going against the direction of the planets. This is why the nodes are very karmic. Because if you think about it, right, the nodes are always going backwards, and they're going in they're going in a counter direction to the planets. So where the planets are moving forward, other than when they retrograde, right, they go backwards for a little bit. But when the planets they're moving forward, but the nodes are always going in a counter direction to them. And so their nodes are always bringing us back to the past, right? Always having us confront our karma in some way. They're always, bringing up some kind of issue or problem associated with the planets, quite possibly, because of this kind of reverse, direction that they're going in. They're going in this counterclockwise direction too. I don't know if it's counterclockwise, but they are going in the opposite direction to the planets, right? So we just got to keep that in mind. But 29 degrees is an extreme degree. It's a degree of closure and completion and endings. So what we might start to see on Wednesday, especially as Saturn is building up into the opposition with Venus and everything, and we're gonna have the moon squaring all these planets, the moon square the eclipse point, the moon square the nodes by Wednesday evening. We can see some things that are coming to a close or wrapping up. We could see some final release or some big endings on Wednesday. All right. So there could be big dramatic stories about endings or losses in the news on Wednesday. So that's something to watch out for. Okay. All right. And then we move forward and things kind of lighten up a little bit because on Thursday by 6 a.m., the moon is in Sagittarius, but things get a little wild. People are leaving for vacation this weekend. I'm telling you that right now. It could be Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. Someone is planning a vacation. Someone's going on vacation. Someone's returning from vacation. There's going to be a lot of people thinking about vacationing. The topic and the idea of vacation is going to be very much in the air Thursday, Friday, and Saturday because the moon is in Sagittarius, which is about long distance travel. It's about foreign connections, foreign people, international connections, right? So with the moon in Sag, though, the moon in Sag immediately as it goes into in Sag, it opposes Uranus in Gemini. So Thursday morning, especially if you have plans on Thursday, just be a little mindful that it's possible that your plans could shift or change suddenly. There could be also something that you unexpectedly have to do. If you are someone and you're that has like a car that is like it's struggling, okay? Someone said not me leaving to Cabo on Thursday. Yes, my stepmom and sister are going on vacation this Friday. Yeah. It's the moon. Yeah, moon and Sag. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So yeah, this is a big weekend of like vacation, partying, having fun, events, especially Friday, Saturday. There's gonna be some like big events, big parties that people are going to. Because the moon's gonna come into a trine with Jupiter, Mercury, and the Sun by Friday. Yeah. So Friday, we have Moon trine Jupiter, Moon trine Mercury. And then Saturday, as the moon is wrapping up in Sag, the moon's going to trine the sun. So, this tells us that, Friday, Saturday, and even Thursday, mainly Friday, Saturday, like big events, big celebrations, big announcements. There's going to be people announcing good news. You may receive good news. Going to a Sweet 16. Oh, Saturday night. Oh, you're celebrating a child. Oh, that's so beautiful. Yeah, big celebrations. Sunday is the family August picnic for us. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a big weekend where there's like a lot of celebrations, a lot of opportunity for people, a lot of like good positive news. There could be announcements about births or pregnancies as well. That's going to be another one. This weekend, there's going to be someone announcing that they're pregnant or that they're having a baby or whatever. This is also a weekend where we may see, because Venus is up opposite Saturn, we may see like marriage ceremonies, or we may see engagements. We may see people getting down on one knee. Especially if you're in public, okay? So if you are someone who's going to be out in public this weekend and you end up witnessing an engagement or a proposal randomly around you, like let's say you're like at the park, or let's say you're at the pier, or let's say you're at a like theme park or something, right? I want you guys to pay attention for and like an engagement or like a marriage thing that happens around you. And if you see it happening, take video or take a picture of it and send it to me. And I'm gonna post it on my stories. Okay? As that's definitely something that we're gonna be seeing this weekend. The reason is because we have Venus and Saturn aspecting each other. And we also have Moon and Jupiter coming into a trine, you know? So there's definitely going to be some like good positive announcements and stuff like this. I also will say, some people are going to be finding out that they're getting a job this week. I'm going to tell you that right now. Okay. It's either going to be on Wednesday or on Friday. More than likely, that some people are going to be finding out they're like getting a job or something. There can be some big announcements though. So the other thing I want you guys to keep in mind is that we are at the very end of Leo season. This is the last week of Leo season before we go into Virgo season. So what does it say? What does this mean? This means that the sun is coming into a conjunction with the south node. So, right as Saturn and Venus are opposing each other on Friday, we actually have the sun inching closer and closer to the south node. And we have a sun south node conjunction on Saturday, August 22nd. This can be a little iffy. All right. Love the fact that the moon is trying the sun. Love the fact that the sun is separating from Mercury. Love the fact that what else is happening here? Venus is separating from Jupiter. We got this beautiful grand trine with like, what is the other point making a grand trine here? Oh, okay, the point of fortune. Okay, well, that's not a grand trine, so we're not going to count that. But it's really sun trine the moon. But Sun South Node, we were talking about the South Node in the beginning of the live. South Node is about loss, it's about surrender, it's about releasing, it's about letting go. What I will say, Saturday, be mindful of alcohol consumption. Be mindful of any drugs that you're taking. Be mindful of anything that a stranger gives you. I would be skeptical. I would take a little bit before we take a lot. I would kind of test the waters just to see how it makes us feel first before we put anything on our body that can put us into a precarious situation. Okay. The only reason why I say this is because the sun and the south node are together on Saturday. And when the sun is hovering around the south node, it's south node activities are dangerous. So this is being under the influence, this is drinking alcohol, this is, drugs, this is going unconscious. This could also be like you need surgery on this day and you gotta, on Saturday, Sunday, on Friday, Saturday, and you're gonna be going unconscious. You're gonna be being put under. The South Node has a lot to do with loss of consciousness, and the South Node also has a lot to do with loss of life. And when I see the sun, which is the planet of vitality and life force, going over the South Node on Saturday, which is also a 22 day, a very karmic day. 22 is it's a double Saturn number. It has a lot to do, it's four, So actually the number four is connected to the North Node. Saturn is connected to the number eight. But anyways, it kind of sets, I don't know, it's kind of setting up a little bit of a karmic situation, a karmic circumstance. There could be some issues or problems. Another thing that I will say about Saturday is if you are around kids or children, if you're going to be around kids or children, you want to be very mindful of what's happening with them. Okay. The last thing we want with Sun South Node together is to have a child that drowns, to have a child that takes some kind of substance or drinks something that they should not have taken or drinking. But it may be an accident though. It may be something that they didn't know, or it could be something that we didn't see, right? It could be like an act. The South Node, it slips something into your drink. The South Node will have someone accidentally drink something that they weren't supposed to drink. This, like I was saying in the beginning, the South Node will have people disappear. The South Node puts us in mysterious, weird circumstances that could be very karmic or very fated. So I just want you guys to be mindful of this with Sun South Node together on Saturday. I'm not trying to scare anyone. I'm just trying to tell you, be careful with children on that day. Okay. Also with fathers, if you are someone that has a heart issue, or you know someone that has heart issues, and you're going to be out in the heat on Saturday, right? Be mindful of that. Ask them, check in with them. How are you feeling? Are you okay? Are you overheating? Are you dehydrated? Do you need to be in the air conditioning? Do we need to get you in the car? Because of the sun south node together on Saturday. That's the only reason why I'm saying this. Okay. The south node can be a very, very, it could be a very little, it could be a little scary point. So, but other than that, there's a lot of good astrology this day. There's a lot of good astrology this weekend, right? We have the moon trine sun, we have the moon trine Mercury, the moon trine Jupiter, right? The moon's in the fifth house away from the eclipse. The fifth house is the house of what? It's about fun. It's about joy. It's about romance. It's about, pleasure. It's about children. It's also about procreation, investments, gambling. Who's going to Vegas this weekend? You'll see that when people have like fifth house stuff, oh, they love gambling. They love investments. They love also like betting sports. So fifth house is sports betting, it's investing, it's gambling, it's also like just people that love sports in general. That's like a fifth house thing. Someone said, "Oh, Dad's birthday is Friday. Supposed to go out with him this weekend." Someone asked about Mercury. Someone said that he'll be at 18. Well, yeah, Mercury's kind of like he's coming under the rays of the sun, So Mercury's been kind of distant from the sun. He's been, pretty far from the sun. His retrograde took him away from the sun, which has been good for him because he's not being burnt out by the rays of the sun. But he does hit 18 degrees of Leo on Wednesday. That is a Virgo degree. That's going to be Moon square Mercury as well. So Moon square Mercury could be about betrayal, like receiving information that breaks our heart or hurts our feelings. It could also be about someone that lies to us, someone that deceives us. It could also be about work or job opportunities though. So it's not all bad. Moon square Mercury is not all bad. Mercury in Leo, he's kind of like in a neutral sign. Mercury doesn't do too bad in Leo in general. Even when he's at 18, which is a Virgo degree, yeah, he doesn't do so. This can literally be about jobs. Also, another thing I will say is this is going to be a week. I'm just looking at this, and this is telling me right now that there's going to be crisis and drama at the job for a lot of people. And it's going to involve a leader or a boss. So I'm going to tell you that right now. If it hasn't happened already, if you're not seeing it already, this can be a week that kind of sets off some kind of big like drama, some kind of big crisis, some kind of big like scandal at the workplace, Moon square Mercury, Moon square Jupiter, Moon square Sun, Sun coming with the South Node. Also, what I will say is there's going to be some announcements by the end of this week and going into next week. We're going to see it like Thursday, Friday, going into like Monday, Tuesday. There's going to be announcements that there's going to be leaders or bosses that are leaving or stepping down or retiring. So, so just be prepared for that. Especially if you have a job, if you are in a leadership position, if you're in a leadership position, um, if you're in a leadership position, you kind of want to pay attention to what's happening in the workplace. You kind of want to pay attention to what's happening like with leadership, with hierarchies, with your higher ups. Because I'm going to tell you right now, this eclipse energy, especially like Thursday, Friday, going to next week with Sun South node together, we're going to see some layoffs. We're going to see some leadership positions get consolidated, or we're going to see some people let go. Someone said something. Okay, car accidents depends on the house it falls in. Car accident. Are you saying that with like Mercury square moon? Car accidents are a Mars thing. So if Mercury was squaring Mars, I would say watch out for car accidents. Because car accidents are a Mars thing. Moon square Mercury, even though it's moon in a Mars ruled sign, moon and Mercury are good planets. They're benefics. They bring good things. So even when they're in a square, even when the moon is fallen in Scorpio and we have Mars in Cancer, like moon square Mercury still are going to bring something that's like more positive or that's not like violent or not like dangerous, Like, but it's possible. it's possible that this can be car accidents for some people, but whenever I think of car accidents or like violent things happening, I always think of Mars. And you always see Mars is the planet that causes car accidents. Well, Uranus does too. Uranus does too, you know. Sometimes Neptune does too. If like people that get in an accident when they're drinking or whatever, that's like typically a Neptune thing or a 12th house thing, you know. So if you think about it, right? Think about this. I want you to think about this. Oh, daughter's buying a car. Oh yeah, that's great. Yeah. Yeah, Moon square Mercury is definitely the purchase of a car, you know. Especially because Mercury is separating from Jupiter. But I want you to think about this. If the third house is driving, right? What are the houses that square the third? The 12th and the 6th. So people get in a lot of accidents. The third house square, driving, third house is driving, is like the road, is like your car, is right, like local travel is the third house. Sixth house is your job. So the square between the third and the sixth, how does that manifest? A lot of people get in accidents on their way to work or when they're coming home from work. And usually people get in accidents when they're rushing to work. That's mostly when people get into accidents. It's either when they're on their way to work or they're coming home to work because the third house squares the sixth. The other thing, what's the other area? What's the other? What? So how does the 12th house also kind of create accidents? Alcoholism, drunk driving, when you are not fully conscious, you're not fully aware. 12th house. The 12th house is alcoholism. The 12th house is drug addiction. The 12th house is, right, not being of conscious mind. 12th house. Also, the 12th house rules sleep. So what happens? People fall asleep at the wheel. The 12th house squares the third. They end up getting in an accident, right? So we can see how just by the very nature of the things that are ruled by the sixth and the 12th and how they square the third, how 12th house, sixth house matters can become a problem or create problems for third house things, which is like driving, you know, being on the road. So this is why sixth house, you know, you always want to leave on time when it comes to a job. You know, you don't want to rush to work and be late because it can put you in precarious situations. And you never want to drink and drive. You never want to be under the influence, or you never want to be excessively tired when you're on the road because that's how the sixth house and the 12th house could bring issues to the third and it could put you in precarious situations, you know. So, all right, let's keep going. Doubters by driving to another state to buy a car. Oh, that's super cool. Love that for her. That's a Jupiter thing. Yeah, Jupiter, Mercury. So Jupiter, Mercury, right? We're doing the purchase of a car, Mercury, but it has to be far. We're going to drive far for that purchase. So we're going to go to another state for that purchase, Jupiter. So, you know, this is how the planets kind of tell us the story of what's happening in our chart or in our lives. You know what I mean? And this is how we delineate. You know, delineation is what brings astrology to life. And what I witness, let me tell you what I see a lot of on social media, especially on threads, is I see a lot of astrological observation with very little to no delineation, right? We can go ahead and say, oh, yeah, the moon's in Libra today. Oh, yeah, the moon is up. But what does it mean? What does it mean? What does it mean? I love Jack, by the way, from Nightmare Before Christmas. Like, Jack, me and Jack are like this, okay? He's an investigator. He's like, I gotta figure out Christmas. He's doing all these tests. He's doing all these studies. He's trying to figure out Christmas. You know what I mean? Like, we got to be able to delineate. We got to do the investigation. We got to be able to translate what the planets mean, what they're saying. And this is where I think astrologers collectively need to be better, need to do better. They need to take more chances. They need to kind of like take more risk. They need to kind of like have at it, you know, give some delineation. What is this transit telling you, right? What does it mean? Let the people know what it means. Otherwise, it's useless. It doesn't have any value. Astrology without delineation or without translation is meaningless, you know? So yeah, delineation is so important. But anyways, let's keep going, okay? We're doing good on time. We're doing good on time. We started at 11 and we're at about 2 hours now, so we're doing good. We're almost to the end. So this is good. This is good. I love this. So, all right. Um, Moon in Sag on Thursday. What I will say is Moon's opposite Uranus, and Moon is also quincunx Mars. Ooh. So we have a Moon Mars quincunx. And what I will say about Thursday particularly, in the morning especially, if you're someone that works out, goes to the gym, whatever, be very careful about taking on too much weight or hurting yourself Thursday morning with the Moon opposite Uranus and Moon quincunx Mars. Okay. Because I really see the quincunxes show up with health problems and with physical injuries, especially with quincunxes when Mars and Saturn are activated in a quincunx. That can really create some like health issues and health problems, or we can get sick. So don't be surprised. Like some people will be waking up Thursday morning a little sick or feeling a little ill or feeling a little off. Also, we got to keep in mind like the eclipse symptoms, like the eclipses really do a number on our body. So if you've been feeling drained, you've been feeling exhausted, you've been having heart palpitations, you've been getting headaches, you've been finding it really hard to sleep, that's very, very common during the eclipse season or during the eclipse cycle, especially around the eclipse, the days leading up to an eclipse, the days after an eclipse. It's very, very common to feel like a little bit of like existential crisis, to feel emotionally, physically unwell, to feel like, a little chaotic, to feel a little wild, to feel drained, exhausted. You'll have a lot of energy sometimes, you have no energy at other times. It's very common because the luminaries are getting hit by the nodes. Luminaries are taking a hit, the sun and the moon, which have a lot to do with our vitality, our body, our life force, right? All right. So moon opposite Uranus, moon quincunx Mars Thursday. All right. But then as the moon is moving forward on Thursday, the moon comes into this beautiful trine with Jupiter. And then, I'm sorry, on Friday, did I say Thursday or Friday? This is like, I'm sorry. This is, hold on. Hold on. I'm kind of jumping ahead of myself a little bit. Oh yeah, this is Thursday. Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is Thursday. Yeah. Yeah, the moon does not come into a trine with Jupiter until Thursday evening and Friday morning. Friday morning is looking good. I'm gonna be honest. Friday is looking like a good day, y'all. I got it. Friday's looking good. We got some really cool stuff on Friday. Well, I don't know. It's a little bit of give and take because we do have the Saturn Venus opposition on Friday. So that goes exact on Friday. But the moon is also trining, separating from a trine with Jupiter by midday. And the moon's going to be trining Mercury and the sun by Friday evening. So to me, this is really good for like plans. This is really good for business. This is really good for travel, communication. This may be a little damaging, a little difficult for relationships though, with the Saturn Venus opposition. There could be some tension or some pressure that shows up in the realm of relationships and partnerships, especially ones that are romantic or one-on-one, like one-on-one connection. Okay, so I just want you guys to be mindful of this on Friday. But Moon trine Jupiter, Moon in Sag, trine Jupiter and Leo. This is expansive. This is fun. This is exciting. This is also indulgent. So the shadows of this energy could be overindulgence, too much partying, too much drinking, too much smoking. We got to be mindful of this during eclipses, right? So the North Node is too much of something. Too much money, too much sex, too many lovers, too many desires, too many cravings. The North Node brings an overabundance of something. It brings an oversaturation. It brings too much of something. Okay. The South Node brings a release, a surrender, a letting go of things. The South Node brings a purging. The South Node brings a weakening. So the North Node is too much, and the South Node is not enough. Okay. I want you guys to just think about this. So we can go between these extremes during eclipse season. We can gravitate towards too much of something or not enough of something, or maybe doing too much of something and not doing anything of something else. So just gotta be mindful of this. Oh, Katha, hope you're doing okay, my love. Katha says Leo's my 12th house where I got the South Node. I'm in the hospital recovering from kidney failure, Libra stellium. Yes, I've been talking about this with Libras. With Libra, right? Libra rules the kidneys. So Saturn is in Aries opposing Libra. Saturn has a lot to do with crystallization. Saturn causes delays. Saturn, he constricts, he applies cold, he freezes. So kidney stones have a lot to do with Saturn. Libra's right. Libra rules the kidneys. Venus rules the kidneys. So opposite of Libra is Saturn in Aries right now. So what is Saturn in Aries causing a lot of Libra people? Libra moon, Libra Venus, health issues, blood pressure issues, high blood pressure, low blood pressure, sugar issues, they have issues with processing sugar. A lot of, diabetic people are experiencing issues with this as well. But yeah, we just got to be very careful with our body and our health during eclipses, especially if you are someone that has a combination of Leo, Aquarius, and Libra and Aries. Health issues could be a very intense thing right now. Virgo rising, Pisces rising as well. I've got to be honest with you guys. Virgo rising, Pisces rising. I love us dearly. I'm a Pisces rising myself, but we gotta be on our health right now. Okay, we gotta be on top of our health. Our health houses are activated in very challenging ways. Pisces rising and Virgo rising. Also, if you have your moon in Pisces or Virgo, this could be for you as well because the moon is our body. It's what we use for health when we're talking about health transits. Um, you guys have Jupiter in this eclipse energy, the Leo, South node in Leo with Jupiter. You have it either in the sixth house or the 12th house, and then you have Saturn in Aries in either your eighth house or your second house. So, the combination of like Saturn and Jupiter South node in like, sixth house, second house, or sixth house, 12th house access, and second house, eighth house access could be bringing up health issues and health problems for you guys. So you guys to be very mindful of this. Not for this. Well, it can be for the sun, but not for the sun. The sun is a planet connected to the heart. So in our back. So if you are a Pisces or Virgo sun, this will be around heart issues or back issues. Um, but this can be health stuff. If your lower back has been hurting, you need to take a look, get your kidneys checked, okay? Just make sure everything is good with like kidneys, blood pressure, stuff like this. Take a look at your sugar levels, stuff like that, because yeah. Saturn crystallizes. So Saturn opposite, Libra, Saturn and Aries opposing the sign of Libra. If you have Libra placements, this can be about kidney stones for you, or kidney failure, or like some kind of deprivation or lack or loss of a kidney, possibly. Venus, So you just got to be very careful. But sending you healing, Kath. I hope you are doing better, and I hope you take care of yourself and you change those sixth house, 12th house habits and routines so that your kidneys can flourish and grow and thrive. You're getting better. That's good. That's good. All right, let's keep going. So I was on Friday with the moon trine Mercury, moon separating from a trine with Jupiter, and moon coming into a trine with the sun. Friday is someone's talking to a boss on Friday. Okay, we'll see. Someone has a meeting with the boss on Friday, and they're gonna have to have a very important conversation about the future of their career and what they want and all this. But it could be a beneficial one. It could be a good one as well. It could be a good one as well. So the moon's gonna sextile Venus by Friday evening. The moon's also trining Saturn, separating from a trine with Saturn. A very active, busy day, but Friday is also an opportunistic day. It's also a day that could bring some good news. So then Saturday, the moon is wrapping up on Saturday morning. The moon is wrapping up in Sag. And then by midday, around 2 p.m. Pacific time on Saturday, August 22nd, the moon goes into Capricorn and all the fun stops. The moon's in Capricorn. It's now responding to Saturn. So I'm looking at around 2 p.m. Saturday. The moon goes into Capricorn, 0 degrees Cap. And then things get a little dicey, spicy. Things get a little interesting. There's still this energy of fun and celebration in the air, but the moon in Capricorn, what is it going to activate? It's going to activate the Mars. So the moon in Capricorn comes in to oppose Mars in Cancer, and this is fighting with family members. This is fighting with your mom, this is fighting with your kids, or this is also maybe some physical or intense physical activity, or maybe there's like some challenge, or you're doing something new on Saturday that you haven't done before, because that's a Mars thing. But the moon opposite Mars on Saturday can bring up some drama and some crisis. It can cause some issues. Moon in Capricorn can be like the elderly folk or the responsible people, and Mars in Cancer could be those meddling kids, could be those family members that are emotionally unregulated and temperamental and destructive and whatever. So if you're going to be at any events on Saturday and Sunday, especially Saturday evening, be mindful of Mars and Cancer energy around you. It could come through a friend, it could come through your mother, it could come through your kids, it could come through family members. There could be something where that Mars and Cancer, has something to defend, has something to protect, has something to fight for. There could be some kind of battle, some kind of argument. There could be something with that Mars activation, okay? But the moon in Capricorn is responding to Saturn in Aries, where Venus is separating from her, right? And that Saturn in Aries is ruling, well, not ruling over the Mars in Cancer, but Mars in Cancer, actually, no, Mars in Cancer is ruling over the Saturn in Aries. So there's definitely something that needs to be said on Saturday. Mars has something to say. Mars has something for us to do. Mars has some kind of something that we have to address on Saturday with the moon opposite Mars. Okay, so we just want to be mindful of that Saturday evening going into Sunday morning. Then Sunday morning, moon in Capricorn. Oh, so Sunday morning actually is the beginning of Virgo season. So the sun separates from the south node at 29 Leo, and the sun ingresses into Virgo on Sunday. This is actually kind of so what's kind of ameliorating, what's kind of dampening the heat or the damage or the frustration of Mars on Saturday and Sunday is the fact that the sun and the moon are trying each other. The sun and the moon are trying each other. Okay. Saturday and Sunday, the sun and the moon are trying each other. The sun goes, so we go from a trine with sun and Sag or I'm sorry, with sun in Leo and moon in Sag to a trine with sun in Virgo and moon in Capricorn. So it's like the sun and the moon, they kind of ingress from fire signs into earth signs at the same time from Saturday to Sunday. So this is good because the sun and the moon, they bring harmony, they bring balance, they bring integration. Um, they also bring like, sun is joy, fun, celebration. Moon is family, home, comfort, security, things that are familiar to us. So when the sun and the moon are trining each other on for the weekend, there's a harmony, there's a harmonization that's happening between the luminaries, right? Where fun, party, celebration, sun stuff and family, ancestry, the past, home, moon stuff are in a good relationship with one another. There's a harmonious thing happening between these two things, right? So, but yeah, right as the sun goes into Virgo and the moon is in Capricorn, separating from the sun, the moon separates from that trine with the sun, but it's still there. Come Sunday, they form a grand trine with Chiron and Taurus. Okay. And I want to talk a little bit about Chiron and Taurus um in this grand trine that's happening on Sunday with Chiron and Taurus with the sun and the moon, but also with the moon going to Scorpio on Tuesday morning. When the moon goes into Scorpio, it's going to oppose Chiron and Taurus. And I want to talk about the Chiron and Taurus activations really quick because what Chiron and Taurus has been bringing up for a lot of people is insecurities or woundedness that they have around their beauty, around their looks, around love, around money, around savings, around debt, also around trust, vulnerability. Whenever I think of Chiron and Taurus, I think about the wounding that Taurus experiences that has a lot to do with the opposing sign of Scorpio. So a lot of Taurus issues have a lot to do with Scorpio things. So, debt, mistrust, betrayal, possessiveness, jealousy in relationships, right? Like dishonesty, right? Also, just what bringing it back to the sign of Taurus, like woundedness with Taurus things. So a wounded relationship with food, a wounded relationship with the material world, using money, using the material world to cover up emotional wounds, right? Like we think about those people, I always think about like, I don't know if was it My Strange Addiction? Maybe it was that, where it always showed um, the people that had like an issue with spending, and they'd like be at the supermarket and they'd have like a pile of stuff that they're buying, and they're like all stressed out, and they're like all like worried about whether or not like the card's gonna go through. But it's like they have this kind of like trauma-based relationship with the material world, or they're using the material world to like cope with emotional things. That's Chiron and Taurus. That could also be Chiron and Taurus. So with Chiron and Taurus being activated this week on Wednesday, and then again on Saturday with the Sun and the Moon trining Chiron, that's actually more of a healing, or more of like a reconciling, or more of like a card cathartic releasing of maybe woundedness associated with Chiron and Taurus on Saturday, because of the harmonious aspects that it's receiving from the Sun and the Moon. But I want you guys to really think about, what does Chiron and Taurus mean for you? What is Chiron and Taurus showing you about where you have woundedness with Taurus things? Food, money, security, safety, stability, the material world, right? Trust, things like this. And because these things may be illuminated for you, this could come into focus on Sunday, your trust issues, your money wounds, your issues with your own looks, your own beauty, your own fashion, your issues with food. These could be things that kind of come up on Sunday, Saturday evening, going into Sunday, as the sun and the moon come in to activate Chiron and Taurus. So just want you guys to think about this, because um, I've definitely been seeing how Chiron and Taurus has been showing up for me in my chart, particularly to me. I have Chiron and Taurus directly opposite my sun and Mercury right now in Scorpio. I have early degree sun, Mercury, and Scorpio. So Chiron is directly opposing my sun and my Mercury, and it's between my third and my ninth house axis. So there's a lot of woundedness that's been coming up for me around communication and openness and willingness to share. Like I get a lot of, it's crazy. I've been having a lot of anxiety with even posting on threads, just because it's weird. It's like I have like this like emotional mental blockage towards like threads in particular, because I don't want my stuff to be subject to scrutiny and criticism from others. But the spirit's also telling me, this is something you got to heal through. This is something you got to work through. Your work is to share your wisdom and your knowledge. Who cares what other people think? Who cares what other people have to say? Who cares if other people disagree with your insights and your wisdom, your knowledge, right? You know what you know because you've been doing this for a long time, and you've built experience, and you've accumulated knowledge from your experience that no one else has access to. Because a lot of the things that I've learned has been from my experience of being a full-time reader, a full-time tarot reader and astrologer. So this is why, like, there's experience. This is one of the things that Saturn will teach you. Okay, I'm a Capricorn moon, and I have Saturn on the 10th house, in the 10th house on the MC. So I'm a very Saturn person. I also have Saturn trine Jupiter. Saturn will teach you that there's certain things that you could only learn through experience, and by going through it, and by putting yourself through it, right? Jupiter and Mercury are book smarts. So Jupiter is like going to college and getting that education, getting that degree. Mercury is like going to school and getting your diploma. But Saturn is experience that you get from doing the thing itself, from doing the job, from working the thing, right? So Saturn is work experience. Saturn is, you put in the time, you put in the labor, you got the experience, you master that thing because you do it all the time, right? That's what Saturn. And so Saturn will bring you wisdom and knowledge that Jupiter, Mercury people will not be able to get, or people that have learned things through Jupiter, Mercury will not be able to access, because the wisdom that Saturn brings is through experience, through knowledge. And you'll know this when you work with a doctor that's been a doctor for like 30, 40 years. They're going to have methods and processes and knowledge that doctors that are new to the profession don't have access to, or have no idea about, because the person that's been doing it for 30 years, they've learned certain things along the way, and they've got certain knowledge along the way that has nothing to do with the books or their schooling. You see what I'm saying? So we always want to be mindful of our Saturnian lessons and our Saturnian experience, and how Saturn is trying to teach us things by going through it, by doing the thing. And many times that's the only way there's certain things you can learn, is by actually doing the thing. And that I tell a lot of my spiritual workers this, a lot of those that want to become a tarot reader or an astrologer or whatever. The only way you're going to become better is doing readings for people. That's the only way you're going to become better. And that's how you're going to master your craft. When I was doing astrology and tarot in the very beginning for people, I wasn't great. Okay. I was very mediocre. Like I had to figure it out, and I had to put it all together. And even though I was like, even though the beginning was really hard, I still pushed through it. I still pushed through it and I still figured it out. And here I am 6 years later, at the top of the food chain, in my opinion, when it comes to being an astrologer and tarot reader and being a spiritual practitioner or just, doing divination. So, you know, do hard things, challenge yourself to do things that are uncomfortable, push yourself to do things so that you can gain experience around that thing. The more that you do it, the better you're going to get at it. And this is what Saturn teaches us. So, anyways, on Saturday, what I was saying, the reason why I brought this up is because Sun, Moon are going to be trining Chiron and Taurus. And we got to be able to take a look at where do we have woundedness around Taurus things. Food, our voice, right? Our skill set, our talent. That's also Taurus. I don't know if you guys knew that. But Taurus, your second house as well, and your Venus placement, and also your, well, I'm going to specifically focus on the second house here when I speak to this. Your second house has a lot to do with your talents, your skill sets, the things that you know how to do that could earn you money and earn you income. So the second house is the value that we create in the world. And we create value in different ways. Sometimes we create value with services that we offer. Sometimes we create value with the products that we offer. Sometimes we create value with the knowledge and the wisdom that we share with people, right? Those are all second house things. They're connected to the second. So Chiron and Taurus can be showing us where we have a woundedness around our talents, our skill sets. And that woundedness is coming from the fact that we're not using talent, skill sets, knowledge, capabilities to make money or to build wealth or to create abundance for ourselves and for others. We're not given things without reason. You weren't given the gift of singing, the gift of art, the gift of music, the gift of leadership, the gift of, management. You weren't you given the gift of healing gifts. You weren't given these things just because. No, you were given these things to be able to thrive and support yourself and support your family and support your kids and buy a house and be successful. You were given these things to share and to give to others so that what they can give back, so that you could be abundant, so that you can be fed, so that you can be clothed, so you can be housed. This is why you're given the skill sets and the talents that you're given, right? And what do I see a lot of? People not using them and not turning them into money. Not everyone has this. I get it. Not everyone has the Scorpio Capricorn placements like me, okay? Or like some of us, where we're like natural business people, right? I understand that. I get that. But you got to work on that. You got to heal that. And if you don't know how to do it yourself, get someone else that can help you with it, okay? Like it's really important, it's really like Artie said, sometimes the hard part is figuring out exactly what gift that is. It's not even about that. It's about developing confidence around your skills and your talents. I'm so gifted. Like because I explore. I'm like, what am I good at? Let me try this. Let me try that. Let me figure this out. Let me see if I resonate with this. Let me see if I'm good at this. You know? Whether it be music, whether it be guitar, whether it be astrology, I'll always have a hand at. I'll try something out just to see if I have a talent with it, just to see if I might be good at it. There also needs to be a certain amount of exploration that we do around our talents and our gifts. And we can take a look at our chart to see what we're good at as well, to see what we're going to have a natural predisposition for, right? But we struggle with so much, um, like insecurity and a lack of confidence and also we don't trust our curiosity. Like we don't really give ourselves the chance and we don't like try things out. This is why we got to educate ourselves. We need to get mentors, coaches, teachers. We got to like do these things to really enhance and better ourselves and to make ourselves more valuable. We want to be valuable people. We want to be of value to the world. We want to give something to the world. We want to have something to offer to people, something to offer to the world so that we can receive in abundance, right? So I think like this Chiron and Taurus transit for you, or even on Sunday, this would be a great time to explore, to think about, okay, what are the things that I'm good at? What are some talents or skills that I could cultivate that can go a little, that I could put more time or energy into so that in the future it could end up making me money, or it could end up, starting a business, or I can end up getting into this profession. So just food for thought, something to think about with um, Sunday, the sun and moon making this grand trine or forming a grand trine with Chiron in Taurus. Okay. because Chiron and Taurus is definitely having us take a look at woundedness in certain spaces or certain places in our life. I have it transiting my third house, so this is about communication, knowledge, teaching for me. It's also about siblings in interesting ways. You know, I've been me and my brother. I moved back home a few months ago. Well, actually, like what is it, a month and a half now, and my relationship with my brother, my third house. You know, like it's so interesting because Chiron going into Taurus in my third house has literally been about my relationship with my brother and now and like even healing that more. You know, going deeper with that more. My third house of siblings is in Taurus. Guess what my brother is? Guess what his sun sign is? Astrology just be so on point sometimes. But yeah, my brother's a Taurus, you know? So Chiron and Taurus in my third house, it also is, you know, asking me questions about my relationship with my brother. And it's inviting me to do some healing around my relationship with my brother, especially in the way that we communicate, you know, because third house is communication, right? As well. So, you know, things like this, you know, take a look at your chart, see how this is activating your chart, see where Chiron is at, see what house you have Taurus in, right? How could Chiron be showing you woundedness associated with that house that you have Taurus in, right? Food for thought, something to think about, especially on Sunday when the sun and the moon are trining Chiron, okay? But wow, we did this in about 2 hours and 20 minutes. Not too shabby. Not too shabby, I must say. Um, I'm gonna leave you all with some final thoughts though before I go. So, first thought is we need to be making sure that we're like checking in on like our friends and our family, especially if anyone has Leo, Aquarius, Scorpio, Taurus placements. You know, of someone that has their sun, moon, or rising or stellium in Leo, Aquarius, Taurus, and Scorpio. It's really important to check in on people right now during this eclipse season. Eclipses can really throw people into crisis, into isolation. Eclipses can also throw people into like paranoia or can make people very distraught or can make them feel like hopeless, you know. Eclipse energy can be very kind of intense and very, you need something to be figured out today, or like, you know, it can be very dramatic in that way. It's also an eclipse in Leo cycle, right? Solar eclipse in Leo, of course, it's going to be dramatic. But make sure that you're just checking in with people, you know, especially people that you know they may have substance abuse issues, they may have, you know, emotional issues, psychology, mental health issues. You know, eclipse energy could be very burdensome and very exhausting and very troubling and very also triggering for people that are dealing with stuff around the mind or their spirit or their self, especially in Leo, their self-perception, their ego. You know, people that have a very fragile or sensitive ego, this energy could be very difficult for them. So just make sure that you're checking in with people, you know, especially if you know that someone's going through a hard time right now, they're going through grief, they're going through loss, you know, they're going through a big change in career or a big change in love and relationships. Make sure you're just like checking in on those people just to make sure they're doing okay, you know. The other thing is um, we want to be mindful of what is kind of what is showing up in our life, like what new things are showing up in our life and what new directions are showing up in our life, because we're being called when the nodes change signs, our point of destiny shifts and changes. Like the point of destiny is the north node. The point of fate is the south node. So destiny, north node, has a lot to do with action, has a lot to do with choice, has a lot to do with the development of the soul, the spirit, based off of free will, options, or choices or decisions. Where the south node has a lot to do with past life karma, has a lot to do with comfort, security, our pattern behavior, the things that we do day in and day out, right? So when the nodes change signs, we are also our karmic focus and kind of like the point of development, you know, the north node, the point of dharma, the point of free will, the point of destiny, the north node, and also the south node, the point of fate, the point of surrender, the point of karma, which is the south node. They're bringing us into a new direction. They're having us pivot in some type of way, right? So we want to be very open and very willing, and also very detached, you know, be in a place of surrender with however the nodes are causing us or inviting us. I'm not going to say cause, sometimes they do cause things, but are inviting us to like shift and change when it comes to our life direction, when it comes to our living situation, when it comes to religion. It could be anything. It really depends on how it's showing up in your chart, right? But the North Node is calling us towards something new, and the South Node is calling us to leave something behind and let something go. And that's what the eclipses kind of show us, in a very basic way. The eclipses show us, hey, this is where you want to go. This is what you want to do. This is like what the way forward looks like for you. And sometimes the eclipses will push you in that direction, right? But in the same token, and at the same time, a lot of times they're also having you move away from something or like release something or let something go. So I always one of my examples that I use when explaining the eclipses in the North Node and the South Node is when families experience both the birth and the death of someone at the same time. So like they'll have like the birth of a baby that'll happen 1 week after someone passed. That's a very nodal thing. That's a very North Node, South Node thing. That's a very eclipse thing. And you'll see, and this is like a very common thing that happens in many families. They'll have someone that passes away, and within like a week or two, or even sometimes on the same day, sometimes within a few days, they'll have a baby be born, right? So the South Node is like the exiting or the releasing of something, but then the North Node is about the entrance and the beginning of something, right? And sometimes these things happen at the same time within the same time frame, within the same period, right? So like it's just something to be aware of because that's what the nodes do, and that's what eclipses do. Eclipses are like a spin at the wheel of fortune, and you don't know if you're going to end up getting like asked out, if you're going to end up on the bottom of the wheel, or if you're going to end up like with a blessing, with an opportunity, and end up at the top part of the wheel and win something or receive something, right? A lot of people make major progress during eclipse seasons or during their nodal return or when the eclipses are activating them or hitting them. A lot of people, they move they move far, they get that position, they get that new job, they meet that person, like, so eclipses are not all bad. We don't want to see them as all bad. We don't want to centralize them as being all bad because they do bring good. They do bring opportunity. They do bring success. They bring money. They bring fame as well. They bring popularity and fame. So North Node people, a lot of times, they'll have, they'll get viral or they'll just have a lot of influence or they're, especially North Node on the sun, which is what Donald Trump has. I hate that guy. He has that. He has North Node conjunct the sun. So what happens is when people have the North Node on the sun, their ego is like amplified and their ego is like expansive and like huge and like super energized, but also they're able to like garner tons of attention. They're able to get tons of recognition. They're able to like have influence in a very big way when people have Sun North Node together, which is what Donald Trump has. Where it's totally opposite with Sun South Node. When people have Sun South Node together, they'll enter a room and no one will notice them. No one will see them. They'll come off as invisible, right? Or their energy will be very weak. And also, South Node Sun affects people's confidence. It makes people very insecure, right? Oh, well, you and Trump have the same thing. Anthony, you guys both have Sun North Node together. It's great for leadership. It's great for career success. It's great for being a boss. North Node Sun is so good for leadership positions. It's so good for being in positions of authority, but it does create chaos when it comes to the ego and the identity, when it comes to leaders and bosses. So when people have Sun South Node together, they can have leaders or bosses that are demanding, overwhelming, toxic. Also, when people have Sun South Node together, they can be demanding. I'm not saying that you're demanding, Anthony, but what I am saying is you might have a predisposition to being a little demanding, or a little overwhelming, or a little too much for people. And people may tell you this. People may say, whoa, Anthony, you're just like, your energy is just like a lot. You're just like too much. So that's what the North Node of the Sun does. The North Node on the Sun, what does it do? It brings intensity and it brings life force and it brings all this energy to the Sun, to the ego, right? So people that have Sun North Node together, there's something very unique about their identity, about them, about who they are. There's something that's different. There's something that is also a little erratic or a little chaotic about their identity, about the relationship with the Sun, because that's what the North Node does when it's aspecting the Sun. It's a very demanding, it's a very commanding conjunction. It's a very powerful conjunction. The North Node loves to be on the Sun. The Sun and the North Node, They really feed into each other, but they can make someone very narcissistic, which is what we see with Donald Trump. So the Sun North Node can make someone extremely narcissistic, because the North Node is a very selfish, all-encompassing energy. It's a hungry energy. The North Node is like the dragon's head or like the demon's head. So it wants to consume, it wants to eat, it wants to take, it wants to be involved, it wants to demand, it wants to force, it wants to control, it wants to do all these really intense things. So when you have a planet on the North Node, that planet is going to get modified and is going to get changed by the influence of the North Node. So men that have North Node Venus, oh, serial cheaters, many women, many kids, sometimes North Node Jupiter, which is I think I don't know if someone has this. I don't know if it's Nick Cannon. Hold on, let me look really check. North Node Jupiter could bring tons of kids, tons of babies when you have North Node Jupiter. Or someone could get married multiple times. North Node Venus, North Node Jupiter together. Why am I feeling this with him? Am I right about this? Let me see. Hold on. Oh, he has North Node in Leo. Wow, 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 wow. Yeah, he has North Node in Leo. Never mind. Doesn't apply here. Oh, but he's going through his nodal return. Oh, Nick Cannon. Everyone, watch out for Nick Cannon. Ooh, we should go. I should go look him up and see what's going on with him. He just had the eclipse on his North Node in Leo at 18 degrees. The true node is the North Node, yeah. The true node is where the actual node is at in the sky, and then the mean node, which is the one that you usually see on websites, is the averaged node. It's the calculated average position for the node. Okay. Yeah, North Node and Mercury, Venus. Yeah. North Node and Venus in the first. Yeah. When you have North Node and Venus together, many partners, many lovers, very intense lovers, also partners or lovers that could be very successful and very rich and very wealthy. North Node Venus brings that as well. But it can also be partners that are very demanding and very controlling, and very kind of obsessive. North Node Venus brings obsessive relationships. North Node is obsessive. I want you guys to think of North Node as like very scorpionic in a lot of ways. Well, both of the nodes, the North Node and South Node, are very scorpionic, but it's like obsessive. It's like overwhelming. It's intoxicating. It's like too much of something, the North Node. But North Node Venus, very basically, lots of money. Very basically, in a very basic delineation of North Node Venus is tons of money, tons of female friends, a lot of beauty, being blessed with beauty. So women that have North Node Venus and even South Node Venus. Well, South Node Venus can harm beauty, right? So sometimes when people have South Node Venus, there'll be something about their looks or something about their beauty, even their psychological relationship with their beauty, that's like off or that's wounded or that's damaged. But when people have North Node Venus, this is a lot of beauty. This is a lot of magnetism. So people that have North Node Venus together, they'll be very beautiful. They'll be very gorgeous, but they'll also look kind of like serpentine a little bit. They'll look a little serpenty. I always think of Megan Fox is kind of like a North Node woman, I think. Hold on, let me see. Megan Fox birth chart. She looks like the North Node. It's like that kind of like dangerous, seductive beauty. Oh, she has North Node squaring her ascendant. That's well, it's Mars. Yeah, Mars and Capricorn. She has Mars on her rising. So Mars can also kind of get that look a little bit. People with Mars on the rising, they can look like a Scorpio or they can look like a Aries. But they'll have like a masculine body, a thin body, a stronger body. Yeah, you have South Node Venus. Yeah, that can be a little challenging. You got to watch out for your kidney health, reproductive health. Yeah, South Node Venus could bring PCOS. It could bring kidney issues. It could bring obviously issues with love and relationships. But spiritual partner, ideally. People have South Node Venus, they'll be single for long periods in their life, or they'll spend most of their life alone a lot of times. Yeah, it's what the South Node does. Kind of brings us into isolation a little bit. But yeah, so anyways, go back to what I was talking about. So I'm just wrapping up here. So we want to be very mindful of if we have anything in Leo and Aquarius at the end degrees of Leo and Aquarius, or even at the beginning degrees of Virgo and Pisces, we want to be very mindful of how the nodes are are hitting us or impacting us. You know, we want to be very mindful of how the nodes are. If you're on the north node side of things, making things more intense, or if you're on the south node of things, making things weak or bringing loss or endings, or north node beginnings, you know, moving you in a new direction, something like this, you know. So, but yeah, let me see if there's anything else that I want to leave you guys with. I think that's it. I think that's it. You know, I might, I don't know, I really want to go over Hayden's chart with you guys. I don't know if I want to do that as a thread or do that as a reel or do that as a live. I don't know. I'll figure that out. But I really want to go over her chart with you guys because her chart is so blessed, but also so troubling. Poor thing. You know, she has a very, I feel like Hayden should have never married, or she never married, actually. She didn't, that makes sense. Her chart, she never married. But I feel like she needed to be way more careful of who she partnered with. She needed to be way more careful of who she ended up with. I actually would have told her, my love, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think you should just like be alone. I think just do your career, wait until you're like 30, 31 before you do a relationship or before you have babies and have a kid. I would have told her, like, wait until after Saturn return before you become a mom, before you have kids. Do your career, do your work career life. Do you, boo? I would have told her that because if you do the other stuff, if you end up with a man that is a karmic leech, if you end up with a man that's mean or aggressive, if you end up becoming a parent with a man that is not good for you, it's gonna make you depressed and sad, and it's gonna make you feel lonely. It's gonna be really bad for your mental health and your physical health as well. And that's what happened, you know. I feel like if this woman had gotten a reading when she was like 15 or 16, it would have saved her. It could have saved. I'm not gonna say it would have, but it could have, you know, like it could have. It's the karma with abusive partners and abusive men and toxic men is in her chart. It's very literal. It's very strongly present in her chart. Also, the karma that she has with her mother and her family, and you know, and her mom and dad. Ew, both of them are toxic. But yeah, the karma that she has with her dad and her mom is also written in her chart. You know, she has a very blessed chart, but she also has a very hard, difficult chart. You know, sometimes our chart wants us to do some certain things that'll bring us so much success and like safety and abundance, and our chart wants us to stay away from these other things that will literally grind us into the ground and cause our self undoing, or will trigger us and destroy us and whatever, you know. And yeah, I feel like with her, she needs to stay single. For some of y'all, I'm gonna be honest with you, and this is one of the things that I was talking to my friend about yesterday with my own South Node Mars and Libra in the eighth house. I'm gonna be single before I'm ever in a toxic relationship. I am not just so I can be with someone. I'm not gonna entertain a toxic relationship just so that I don't have to be alone. You know, I'm looking at Hayden Panettiere, the woman that passed yesterday, the um the child actress. Yeah, that's who I was looking at. Was talking about her chart, where her chart is just so bad for like love and relationships, but her chart is so good for work and career. And I swear, if she had just focused on her career and her work life, she would have been so much happier throughout her life. And she could have just waited until her Saturn return, um, until after Saturn return to like have kids and do that. You know, I think she was supposed to like do her career and her work life first and like do and accomplish all her goals and her dreams before partnering or marrying someone. And then even in marrying someone or partnering with someone, she had to be incredibly discerning with who she partnered with because of the damage that they could cause. And that's exactly what happened. She ended up with two guys, not just the second guy, that stupid, idiotic white man that she ended up with, but the first guy, the Ukrainian guy, unhealthy and toxic as well. Unhealthy, toxic, terrible for her. Oh my God, that man was horrible for her. I would be opening up, honestly, I would be investigating that guy. Her baby daddy, the very first guy that she was with. Oh, he did a lot of damage too. You know, he did a lot of damage too. I don't even know. And she got back with them. She broke up with them after 2 years and then got back with them. Libra, Venus and Libra, Libra rising, Venus and Libra. Baby girl, what are we doing? I have to yell at my Libra women all the time. What are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you going back to him? He's toxic. He's mean. He's abusive. He's unhealthy. Are you so desperate for love? Are you so desperate to be with someone? Are you so desperate to be married that you're gonna accept a toxic, abusive, unhealthy relationship that's gonna literally grind you into the mud to where you lose yourself and you lose your confidence, you lose your self-esteem, and you want to harm yourself? Is that what love is worth for you? Is that what love is for you? Never, ever, 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 ever. Pluto and Libra generation, you need to be listening because I have so many of my I have so many clients that are Pluto and Libra, and I love you all dearly, but y'all get on my last nerve with your toxic relationships. And then you go back over and over and over. You're back with him for the sixth time, for the seventh time. Are you not gonna learn? It's crazy to me. And you're so beautiful. You have so much to offer the world. You have so much to give. You're gonna let that man take that away from you? Oh, hell to the no. God forbid a man tries to take my career, my joy, my happiness ever again. Okay? Because if he ever tried it, it's gonna be me or him. I gotta cancel clear that. I gotta, but no, like, no, dude, no, 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 no. Mm-mm, no, no, no. No one is worth our peace. No one is worth our success. No one is worth our health or our abundance. No one ever. No one. Doesn't matter who they are, you know? I do all my readings live. So all readings that I do, we go on Zoom together and I give you a reading live. We're talking, we're interacting. The reason why I do live readings is because I'm a psychic, I'm intuitive, and I get downloads when I'm doing readings for you that are not just about your charts. I also do tarot, I'm very psychic. So what I'm doing is when I'm doing a reading for people, I'm channeling as well, which is why I can only do a few readings a day because it takes so much energy out of me. But all my readings are live. We go live on Zoom together, and I literally show you your chart and walk you through your chart, and yeah. And also we record it. That's the other one. My y'all, like my clients, you guys love that, the recordings. I have some people go back and rewatch the reading like multiple times. I can see, so I could go into my iCloud and I can see when people are like, when they download the reading or they rewatch the reading. And I've literally seen some people rewatch the reading like 20 times. I'm like, dang, was it that valuable to you? Yeah, some people rewatch it over and over and over again. Like one person ended up messaging me, they're telling me like, oh my God, like your reading was so inspiring. Like whenever I need like a pickup or whenever I just need like a boost in confidence and like a reminder of like who the fuck I am, I just like rewatch the reading. A lot of people told me that. Someone said that would be me. I do that. That would be me. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's one of the things that I offer people, is a recording is so valuable because you can go back and you can rewatch, you can go back and take notes, like you have something, you have a copy, a record of that reading. You know what I mean? Have you thought about doing YouTube videos, breaking down celebrity charts? I would enjoy that for you. Yes, I have. I really have, but my work is for people, like I'm very kind of like I was talking about this on the live the other day or last week, I think. I was talking about how like astrology for me, yeah, it's entertaining. Obviously, astrology has an entertaining component to it, but ultimately, astrology is a very sacred science, and for me, it's a very special sacred thing. And astrology is what I use to heal people and help people and to guide people. It's like a tool that's been given to me by the spirit, by the divine, to be able to empower people and to be able to give people clarity and to be able to like, yeah, be an oracle, pretty much. So I have a very sacred relationship with astrology, which is why I just don't feel like I want to use it irresponsibly. And I feel like just doing celebrity chart readings, like maybe if I'm doing it with the intention of like educating someone about or educating my peoples around a particular thing in the chart, I think yeah. But just like doing celebrity chart readings just because, I don't get paid for that. I'm not getting paid for that, where people actually pay me to do readings for them, right? So it's like if I don't find value in it, if it's not really benefiting me, or if it's not benefiting my following, and then I don't really feel called to it, you know. And yeah, I do chart readings all the time. I definitely do a lot of celebrity charts. I was doing a lot of celebrity charts last year, the year before. I go through phases where I will, like, talk about celebrity charts and things like this. But I'm only one person, and astrology takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of time, even like breaking down a chart, it takes a lot of time, right? So um yeah, I'm just a little bit, in where I'm at right now with my relationship with astrology. I'm very intentional with how I'm doing it and what I'm doing it for, and I have to ask, it has to be a good enough reason for me to feel compelled to do a particular type of astrology, or to like look at a celebrity chart and things like this. The only stars I want to know about are the ones between Venus and Mars. Why is that? Someone said, I think I forgot to download the last reading from June. Yeah. And we'll get there one day, As I continue to grow and expand, I'm going to be way more active on like YouTube and things like that. It's only a matter of time. There's a lot of things that I want to do. I just don't have a time to do them. you know. Um, but yeah, my loves, you guys have a good day. Take care of yourselves. Be well. Thank you for spending this time with me today. I'm gonna go ahead and upload this onto. Oh, that's a Nas reference. That's funny. I'm gonna go ahead and upload this to YouTube with timestamps, so that you can go ahead and take a look. Yeah, you can rewatch it if you want on YouTube. Or if you had to like step out, or if you missed certain parts of the live, you can go back and watch it on there. Okay. Yes, YouTube will help will will help with letting people get to know you better. Also, you have a beautiful personality. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I love you all. All right, I bid you farewell. I release you into the world with this knowledge and wisdom that I gave you today. May you use this knowledge and wisdom from the stars for good, to better not only the life of your own, but also to better the lives of others. Always be compassionate, kind, and loving. We always want to be an example of what good human being behavior looks like. Okay. But be a good human, pretty much, it's very simple. It's very simple. It's kind of hard for some folks, but be a good human. Just be a good human. Go out in the world today, shine your light, inspire someone, give someone a compliment, make someone feel good about themselves. Walk up to someone and give them a random prediction. Walk up to someone and be like, you're having a baby in 2 years. Okay. Eclipses cause miscarriage. Yes, yes, yes. Eclipses cause miscarriages. I cannot tell you how often this has happened with clients of mine. Um, Eclipses do lead to miscarriages, especially if the pregnancy is under 3 months old. So let's say you got pregnant in July, or even like June. Let's say you got pregnant mid-June, right? We're 2 months out. So this eclipse is 2 months away from your conception date. 3 months is really the secure window. Like once a baby passed 3 months, or once a pregnancy goes to 3 months, then the eclipses will not be able to touch it, or it will not impact the baby, or will not create issues or problems, or create a miscarriage. But yes, a lot of women miscarry during an eclipse. Why is this? Why do you guys think this is? Anyone have a anyone can anyone kind of guess why, or can anyone wonder why um people tend to, or women tend to miscarry during eclipses, or around eclipse season? Oh, I'm sorry. You just had on this eclipse. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, just wait until try again come like October. Just wait until like the eclipses move through, like the eclipse energy moves through, and I would say try again end of September going to October, if you are still trying to have a baby, but you just had a miscarriage. It could be hard to just like get back, just try again, especially if it's like, because miscarriages can be very, very emotional and can be very sad and can just it could bring up a lot of stuff, it could bring up a lot of stuff for women. So sometimes they need a little bit of a window of time to kind of heal and recover through that miscarriage. But yeah, I would say wait until like October to try again. Just so that the eclipse energy kind of moves. Let's get away from the eclipse energy. Anyways, the reason why eclipses lead to miscarriages is because the moon is the planet of the womb. It's the planet of babies. It's the planet of the mother. And what happens with the moon during an eclipse? The moon gets eclipsed. The moon gets darkened. It goes dark. So the moon, which is the planet of gestation, it's the planet of babies, it's the planet of pregnancy, it's the planet of the mother, it's the planet of the womb, it's the planet of procreation, Jupiter, or I'm sorry, moon. Well, Jupiter is procreation too, but moon for a woman. So the moon is a woman's womb. The moon is a woman's womb. So during an eclipse, a lunar eclipse or a solar eclipse, the moon gets eclipsed. The moon falls dark. The moon, right, gets hit by the sun. So the moon, not only does it get blasted by the rays of the sun, but it also gets hit by the nodes, right? So that's why a lot of women miscarry around eclipses because the moon gets afflicted. The moon is harmed during eclipses. So, okay. All right, my loves. Take care of yourselves. Be well. For real this time. I've been trying to say bye for the last like 40 minutes, but this is like for real, for real. Like bye. Like for real. Bye. Okay. Let me just make sure that. Okay. Okay, cool. All right, let me end the live here and the recording.